Where am I? Am I alive or am I dead? Oh, you're alive, my friend. What time is it? It's Podblast time! That's right, it's Podblast time. I'm your host, Chance Bartels. How are you doing? We got a good one for you today, as Steve Harvey might say. This is the show about nostalgia with a bite. Welcome. I'm no relation to Chance the Rapper, or I'm not affiliated with the rock band Milky Chance. You heard of them? The rock band Milky Chance? Well, anyway, I do want to start with some music tonight pertaining to the Beatles. Now, you know about Yacht Rock. Very successful cover band. Everybody knows about Yacht Rock. Well, before Yacht Rock, there were Stars on 45, which was a Dutch novelty pop act that was briefly very popular throughout Europe and in the United States and Australia in 1981, over 41 years ago. The group later shortened its name to Stars On in the United States of America, while in the United Kingdom and in Ireland, Stars on 45 was known as Star Sound. The band, which consisted solely of studio session musicians under the direction of Jaap Eggermont, who was formerly with Golden Earring. I love Golden Earring. Remember that? Help, I'm slipping into the twilight zone. That classic song, that was Golden Earring. Everybody knows that. But in case you didn't know, if you're younger, look up that song Twilight Zone, as well as others like Radar Love. Golden Earring had a lot of hits. But anyway, they popularized medley recordings made by recreating hit songs as faithfully as possible to the original versions and joining them together with a common tempo and underlying drum track. The Beatles sound-alikes were established Dutch singers. John Lennon's parts were sung by Ba Mice, which is spelled B-A-S, the S is silent. Last name is spelled M-U-Y-S. Sounds like mice, Ba Mice, of the 1970s Dutch pop group Smile, spelled S-M-Y-L-E instead of S-M-I-L-E. Paul McCartney and George Harrison's parts were sung by Sandy Coast frontman Hans Vermeulen and Oki Hoogestans, who had worked with Vermeulen in the band Rainbow Train. Apart from the recreated songs, I'm going to play some in a moment, an original chorus and hook written by and composed by Eggermont and musical arranger Martin Dozier, called Stars on 45, was added at intervals at the beginning of the song, typically, of the 45 record, to help string differing sections together. The 45 in the title refers to the playback speed of the vinyl record single, 45 RPM. Such singles were often simply called 45s. You know, it had an A-side and a B-side. I remember one of my first 45s was Kiss, Beth, and Detroit Rock City on side B, which I like better than Beth, which was the actual single at the time. The female vocalist in the chorus of the Beatles songs was session singer Jody Piper, spelled Jodypijer, the J is silent. Jody Piper. Later recordings also featured uncredited vocals by Dutch 1970 star Albert West and Arnie Treffers of the rock revival band Long Tall Ernie and the Shakers. The Stars on 45 recordings were made before the birth of digital recording technology, which meant that each song was recorded separately, and the different parts were subsequently manually pieced together with pre-recorded drum loop, using analog master tapes in order to create the segged medleys, segued together. The specific drum loop heard on most Stars on 45 recordings, which you hear in a moment, is often referred to as the clap track, due to its prominent and steady hand claps, like clapping your hands. Now, I'm going to play some. This sounds so much like the original Beatles to me. I mean, some sound better than others, but I think it's consistently pretty damn good. Again, before Yacht Rock, sounds really, really good. And I had these on 45. And if you're listening at fistfulofradio.com or TuneIn or Stitcher, wherever you might be listening, Apple Podcasts, you can't see this, but on YouTube you can. Or in the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group, you can see this. And I have one of the actual Stars on 45 singles on camera right now, along with a single compact disc. Remember, there were actual singles of compact discs in the early days of compact discs. And you can see the size comparisons of a vinyl 45 single and a compact disc single right there on camera. Just head to the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group, and this is the Nostalgic Podblast episode 99. Next time will be 100, have something special planned. It's almost our 3-year anniversary, and it's quality, not quantity, I always say. And it's not about me or it's always about the guest. It's really about the clips and the material that I'm covering. I really want to make things fun in terms of a pop culture history lesson. So that's why I load things up with clips, because nobody wants to hear a monologue by me. I don't even have a particularly great voice. I want to talk about the content. So what I'm going to do now is play about 10 minutes of Stars on 45, and listen to how good this sounds. It sounds a lot like the real Beatles. I can't play the originals because God, XM, and there's billions of dollars spent on music rights in terms of advertising, and man, they don't play. I mean, this is like hard programmed with the bots. There's robots, which we call bots. They're looking for Beatles music to shut you down if you play any of their songs. So that's why I'm playing these. I think they're interesting, and they sound just like the real thing. And then I want to talk about some sad losses. I won't go into too much detail or spend a whole lot of time on it, because these have been covered by other shows that you know and love. And, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, no pun intended. Jeez, that was a poor analogy there. I don't want, you know what I'm saying? I mean, because these people are deceased. I shouldn't have said that. It was an accident. But let's listen to this. And what I'm going to do, since, by now Easter's over with, I have in my home a real life Easter bunny, if you will. Back in September 2021, I was out for a walk in my neighborhood by a lake, and a real bunny rabbit, not a wild rabbit, but a real bunny rabbit that I named Baby, was just abandoned by someone. That's the sad thing about rabbits. I'm sort of digressing here, is that after Easter, a lot of people that have never had bunny rabbits before as a pet, they've had a dog, they've had a cat, but not a bunny. And bunnies require special attention, and they're a little different. They don't like to be held generally for a long period of time because they're a prey animal, and they go to the bathroom a lot. But the good thing is they can be trained like a cat to go in a box, and literally their shit don't stink, which is kind of cool. And you just take the box and tilt it into a commode, pour out, this is kind of gross, but not too gross, the urine and the solid waste, and flush. It's easy. And then they eat hay. 80% of a rabbit's diet should be hay, and the rest solid food that's vet approved. And they love parsley, regular parsley, not carrots. Carrots can actually be fatal to some rabbits because of the sugar content. So don't believe Bugs Bunny. But anyway, while I'm playing this Beatles music, I'm going to get my bunny and see if she will let me put her on camera, because she's super cute, since it's still pretty much Easter time, Holy Week. I hope your Passover was good. Whatever you might celebrate, it's Holy Week for most religions. And I certainly hope you had a good one with your family and it was meaningful. But let's listen to Stars on 45 right now. This is about 10 minutes worth, and I just love it. Now, you'll hear at the very beginning that piece I talked about that they would loop at the beginning and sometimes in the middle of the actual 45 single.
Love the disco sound. Move on your
offense, I don't like her voice. She's my least favorite voice on the track.
your heart breaks, don't wait, turn me away. And if your heart is strong, hold on, I won't be late. The stars on 45 keep on turning in your mind, but we can work it out. Remember, twist the shout, you still not tell me why. And the reply, good day, sunshine. Good day, sunshine.
There you have it. That's Stars on 45. And it goes on, but let's move on to some other stuff. I think they did a really good job. It sounds just like the original to me in many cases. I just love it. So that's Stars on 45. Now, I want to transition to some really sad news that is old news by now. Passing of Gilbert Gottfried, for instance, and I won't spend a whole lot of time talking about it since it's sort of been talked about a lot. But I've got to acknowledge it on our show, the Nostalgic Podblast. First, I want to mention, of course, Liz Sheridan passed away on Thursday, April 15th, 2022. Very sad news, especially for Seinfeld fans and fans of Alf, too. The show from the 80s about the alien. It was just basically a puppet, obviously, that supposedly ate cats and stuff. By the way, in the video piece, if you're listening, this won't mean anything to you. I was holding up my bunny rabbit, Baby, I named her. The vet thinks she's like a year and a half old, and she was really good. She was shaking, but she let me hold her up for the camera and didn't freak out like most rabbits do, so that was pretty cool. But this is really sad. But Liz Sheridan did have a long life. She lived to be 93, which is a nice long life. And she, of course, played Seinfeld's mother in the show, the classic sitcom that we all love, Seinfeld. Rest in peace to Liz Sheridan. And later we'll talk about another Liz who had a heavenly birthday. That would be Elizabeth Montgomery. Gilbert Gottfried, man, what a loss. And unexpected, just like Norm Macdonald months ago. No one really saw this coming. He was only 67 years old. I want to read a little bit from Forbes.com. And author Maria Delato, spelled Dellato. She wrote a piece about the great Gilbert Gottfried that I want to go over right now. And then we'll talk about happier things, happier topics in pop culture. Got a really interesting exclusive for you, but let's talk about this. Gilbert Gottfried was born in Brooklyn, New York, and became known in the comedy scene for his unique, shrill voice and his crude sense of humor. I'm going to add and paraphrase here Chance Bartels. This isn't from the article, but I liked how he would squint. At first, he would squint. I can't do an impression of him, but he would squint his eyes when he first appeared on Late Night with David Letterman and The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, both on NBC at the time in the mid to late 1980s when he made his debut. And, he would squint. He had a squinting. He just had an original shtick. He had great material, but he was known as one of the best tellers of the crude The Aristocrats bit, look it up, which is often considered to be the dirtiest joke ever, or the best dirty joke. Told for decades, the joke starts with a man or a family walking into a talent agency and an agent asking what their act is. The comedian launches into a tirade of filthy acts before landing on the punchline. We call ourselves the Aristocrats. That's the punchline. Gilbert Gottfried famously told his rendition of the joke during the roast of Playboy editor and founder Hugh Hefner shortly after the September 11th attacks back in the year 2001, as well as a joke about the attacks themselves, which was chronicled in the 2005 documentary titled The Aristocrats. During his career, Gilbert Gottfried lent his voice to many beloved animated characters, including Lago in Disney's Aladdin, which was a major successful, hundreds of millions of dollars in profit for the Walt Disney Corporation, and Digit in the long-running PBS Kids series Cyber Chase. In the 1990s, Gilbert Gottfried starred in the Problem Child series of movies. I want to talk about that briefly, paraphrasing here. That was interesting. The first Problem Child was released in 1990, starring John Ritter, Amy Yazbek. That's how they met. They wound up marrying, and it was a story, as hence the title, about a problem child who Gilbert Gottfried is trying to palm off on the unsuspecting couple, John Ritter and Amy Yazbek's characters. And he's been kicked out of all sorts of orphanages. He's messed with nuns. He's just a relentless little redheaded kid. And also in the cast of that first Problem Child was Michael Richards, who months after its release in 1990 would star as Cosmo Kramer in Seinfeld that we just talked about. I think it's underrated. It's a funny comedy movie. And what a sad thing about John Ritter, by the way, with that rare heart condition. Don't want to go into specifics, but he passed away in 2003. Amy Yazbek was obviously was just destroyed by that loss. You can tell in interviews she is still not. Took her a long time. I don't think she'll ever get over it. For goodness sakes, of course. And he was such a talent, great physical comedian, obviously from Three's Company and the like. The second Problem Child movie had a really bad gross out scene. In the second one, Amy Yazbek adopts a female problem child. So there's two of them in the second movie, and there's a gross out scene where they're having dinner and they put live insects and roaches. This is gross if you're eating. And gosh, you might be eating a big feast. So I won't go into too much graphic detail, but it's just gross. You can tell that real bugs are being crushed and stuff. I'll leave it at that. But getting back to Gilbert Gottfried, a very sad thing, unfortunate thing, I should say. He was fired from voicing Aflac, the Aflac duck mascot, in 2011 after joking on Twitter about the earthquake and tsunami that impacted Japan that year, which almost caused a nuclear incident at a nuclear power plant. It was horrible. And I remember in the Atlanta, Georgia area where I'm at, there were auditions held, as there were across the country. I'm sure at least 100,000 people auditioned to be the new Aflac duck voice. And when I auditioned, they asked you to do it unlike any way you've heard it before, meaning Gilbert Gottfried, not by name, but to do it differently. And they wanted different versions, as many different versions as you could, and then do it in the traditional way. Aflac! And, God, there's a joke. I don't think I'll tell it, but because it could be misconstrued. All right, I'll just tell it. What the heck? Because I'm telling you, this is not mean-spirited or hateful. I think it's kind of funny. So the joke is, as you know, our former president, Barack Obama, his mother was white and his father was black. And so when you read an article where it says that Barack Obama was the first black president, the Aflac duck goes, half black! Anyway, which is a fact. Anyway, I think it's kind of funny. Ha, ha, ha. But it's not mean-spirited and certainly not intended to be. But anyway, he lost that gig as the Aflac duck voice after joking about that earthquake and tsunami that impacted Japan and Tokyo. Since 2014, Gilbert Gottfried hosted the Gilbert Gottfried Amazing Colossal Podcast, which was a great podcast I loved to listen to. Of all people, speaking of Seinfeld, actor Jason Alexander, best known as George on Seinfeld, was seemingly the first person to break the news of Gilbert Gottfried's death, posting a tribute on Twitter before Gilbert Gottfried's family released its statement. Jason Alexander wrote, "Gilbert Gottfried made me laugh at times when laughter did not come easily. What a gift," Jason Alexander wrote. Comedians and public figures like Conan O'Brien, Richard Lewis, all offered their grave condolences and sincere, heartfelt condolences. Gilbert Gottfried also appeared on Celebrity Apprentice for charity. Now, let's talk about something happier and just think good thoughts about these talents that we lost. There's been so many wonderful comedians that have gone to a better place. And it's just really sad, but luckily their humor lives on. Just like, I'll never forget when Richard Pryor passed away, or George Carlin, Red Fox. At least their comedy records, YouTube videos survive. And I mean that sincerely. And It's really, really special. It's a gift that they had. The gift of laughter is something that can never die. And that's the truth. So item, let's transition to happier topics. This was funny. Apparently, Drew Carey, the host of The Price is Right, does not like to be hugged by big white women, as evidenced on the Tuesday, April 14th, 2022 episode of The Price is Right, which can be found on Paramount Plus. It's at the very end of the big climactic showcase, and a lady wins. She's all happy, and she says, "May I hug you?" And Drew Carey says, No. I think you can hear this in the audio. Let me play this. It's very brief. This cracked me up. You have to see it. Go to Paramount Plus, or it's probably on YouTube by now, but it was really funny. It wasn't mean or anything. It just was kind of funny and a little bit awkward. Let me play this for you now. Yeah, here it is. And again, this is from the Thursday, April 14th, 2022 episode of The Price is Right.
Congratulations. Go get your truck. Go get your truck. No. Here. Give me a buck. There you go.
So she says, I don't know if you could hear that, "May I hug you?" And he goes, no. And he goes, "But fist pump me, though." And he does try to fist pump her, and she doesn't hear him. And anyway, they eventually fist pump, but I thought that was funny. Okay, so other recent game show news. Item. Wheel of Fortune had some interesting moments in April 2022. Now, first of all, this was all over social media and the news outlets about someone who people claimed got screwed out of winning an Audi Q3, based on an issue with the rules. All right, and before I play the clip, because what happened is ultimately the point is this rule was violated in April 2022, and someone won without actually saying the full puzzle before the 10 seconds expire in the bonus round. And I don't think anyone's talked about that or caught it that I've noticed. But you're going to hear, it's one of the two exclusives, I think, exclusives that you'll have on the Nostalgic Podblast in this edition number 99. So let me just recap about what happened to another contestant. Now, this is an article from the Today Show writer Ariana Brockington at today.com. Let me read this. Almost a month after Wheel of Fortune contestant Charlene Robush lost in the bonus round due to a technicality with the rules, she was finally sent the brand new car that she would have won on the show. Robush appeared on the game show on December 21st, 2021 and tried to solve a puzzle. And the answer was, the category was, what are you doing? They have what are you wearing, what are you doing, living things, different categories. And the category in this instance was, what are you doing? When she paused for about 7 seconds while guessing the right answer, the answer was choosing the right word, the buzzer went off. Although she was correct, Robush didn't officially win and couldn't receive that grand prize, the Audi Q3. So if you start and stop, you have to say the entire answer within the 10 seconds. Even if you're fumbling and stumbling, you have to say the complete answer to the puzzle within the 10 seconds. That's the rule. So this is a quote from Pat Sajak, the longtime host. This is December 1982. He said, this one's tough because you said all the right words, including the word word, but as you know, it's got to be more or less continuous. This comes up in a second in this clip from April 2022. Host Pat Sajak explained at the time on the air. He said, we'll allow for a little pause, but not 4 or 5 seconds. I'm sorry. You did a good job in getting it, but we can't give you the prize. And it was the Audi. He looks at the little card. It was the Audi. Well, after a number of viewers flooded Twitter with comments defending the contestant named Robush, that's her last name, Audi stepped in and announced it would still deliver the prize to her. You're a winner in our eyes, Charlene. Now let's get you a prize. Time to hashtag give her the Q3, a December 22nd, 2021 tweet on the official Audi Twitter account said. The car company has now followed through on its promise. On Thursday, Audi posted a picture of Robush smiling next to her new Audi Q3 while holding the car keys. You all did it. You helped hashtag give her the Q3, unquote, the tweet said, referencing the hashtag fans of the show created to show support for Robush. Charlene, welcome to the Audi family. We are so happy to see you in the driver's seat. Now, I like Audi. I'm not mocking them. I'm just, trying to make it interesting as interesting as I can. I'm an Audi owner. I own an Audi, so I have nothing against Audi or Wheel of Fortune. Big fan of the show, longtime wheel watcher. So Audi also tagged Alex Jacob, a Jeopardy Tournament of Champions winner who had tweeted about the Wheel of Fortune saga and wanted to make sure that Robush did indeed receive the Audi. He's a professional poker player who immediately called out the show after Robush's episode aired. Quote, this is a tweet that Alex Jacob made. "Come on, at Wheel of Fortune. The woman literally chose the right word. Give her the car," he tweeted at the time while posting a video of the blunder. Robush poses with her new Audi. Jacob then posted a series of follow-up tweets about the progress connecting Robush with the Audi. So anyway, so this Jeopardy contestant, I suppose, was integral in getting Audi to go ahead and fork over the car. It was great publicity. Anyway, so here's what relates to April 2022. Let's see. I'm going to play a clip. Now, like I said, the issue was with Robush, you have to say the entire answer to the puzzle within the 10 seconds continuously. So if you guess one thing, then guess another combination of words, you have to back up and say the entire thing before the buzzer sounds after 10 seconds, right? Well, this guy won the other day and he didn't say the full name of the puzzle. He didn't say the full answer to the puzzle. Earth-shattering, right? I know there's a lot of things in the world going on right now, but I find this very interesting and no one's talking about it. All right, I'm going to play this clip. Listen closely. The complete puzzle solution was the final buzzer, ironically enough. That's the answer. So, you know, the contestant has letters that are given. They have to choose one vowel and like 4 consonants, and hopefully they'll pick good ones so they can solve the puzzle. So anyway, listen to this closely. He doesn't say the final buzzer. He says final buzzer. So he didn't obey the rule. Let's listen to this clip. Pay close attention, and I think the audio is clear enough where you'll hear it. Again, the answer is the final buzzer. Let's go.
Okay. Anna? Hello? Well, you can tell from that there are no additional letters. Remember, the category is fun and games. That'll give you something to think about. 10 seconds. Good luck.
The final beater, final buzzer, final...
Yeah, you said it. And you know what? You said final buzzer before you heard the final buzzer, which was good, and now you got a car.
Calvin, wheel around your neighborhood in style in your all-new Mazda CX-5. Offering refined performance with all-wheel drive and an enhanced design. From Star Ford Lincoln Mazda. $36,170.
Look out, man, here it comes.
So, again, he said final buzzer before that buzzer sounded, not the final buzzer. Let me play it one more time, just that one little bit.
Okay. Anna? Hello? Well, you can tell from that there are no additional letters. Remember, the category is fun and games. That'll give you something to think about. 10 seconds. Good luck.
The final beater, final buzzer, final...
Yeah, you said it.
I don't know. Well, I heard it again. I'm starting to doubt my own reality. I thought maybe I did hear it, the final buzzer after all, and just wasted your time. I thought, no, it sounded like he said final buzzer. He did say the, but you have to say the whole thing completely, the final buzzer before the buzzer sounds. Okay, anyway, moving on, but still talking about Wheel of Fortune. Now, I haven't seen the latest ratings for Wheel, and that might not be the reason this happened, but there's been some really funny, somewhat risque moments that happened on Wheel of Fortune the week of April 11th through April 15th, 2022, both with a contestant and Vanna White, the letter turner. Here is a clip from the very end of the Wednesday, April 13th, 2022 edition of Wheel of Fortune, which is owned by Sony, in which Pat Sajak makes a pretty funny joke, but I thought it was pretty interesting for a family show. It didn't cross the line. Let me play it. It's right here.
Like a lot of people, I certainly appreciate the talent and artistry of opera performers, but I confess I don't know much about it. I think people are intimidated by it because people are putting on their little tuxedos and going there, and it was written for the masses originally.
Yes.
Are you an opera buff at all?
Yes, I'm not a buff, but I like opera.
Have you ever watched opera in the buff? I'm just curious.
No.
I'm just asking questions here.
About opera?
Yeah. I've seen the Marx Brothers and Night at the Opera many times. That concludes this in-depth operatic interview in this
Bye-bye.
Okay. Have you watched Opera in the Buff? The reason he said that, I thought was kind of funny, especially since I'm sure most people don't remember this, but back in the 80s, like in the mid 80s, Playboy published some lingerie shots of Vanna, and she was really angry, really pissed about it. And I think she actually took legal action. And anyway, but I thought it was just a joke, and it didn't cross the lines of decency or indecency. Thought it was funny. That's one instance, but the opera contestant that Pat referenced was a very attractive opera singer. You think of opera singers as being rotund, you think of Pavarotti, but this was a really attractive lady who also started an acting career, she said, on that show. And when she's leaning down to spin the wheel, I don't think the director meant to do this, but you can see a lot of things hanging out in the chest area. I'll just leave it at that. Now, the other sexy, or at least offbeat moment was on the next day, on Thursday, April 14th, 2022, that episode of Wheel of Fortune. I don't have a clip, but at the very end of the show, Vanna is sticking her tongue out like this, like a college girl would, like flirting. It's really sexy. Now, it's a family show, and this was ostensibly for a very innocent reason. Vanna was demonstrating how back when she was in school, she could and still can hide a piece of chewing gum to the roof of her mouth. So if a teacher said, "Are you chewing gum?" and she'd open her mouth, stick out her tongue, no gum, but it's really stuck to the roof of her mouth. That's all she was demonstrating. And even Pat says, "You're a bad girl," at the end of that moment. And I posted that image in the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group if you want to see it. Anyway, but both moments were amusing, and again, definitely did not cross any lines of indecency. Now, moving on to another story. I've had a lot of stories about comic books selling for millions of dollars, and we have an absolute record breaker. This is a stunner. The money that this past week this comic book went for. And I want to play that for you now. Not play it for you. I want to tell you about it. And this comes to us from my friend Jeff Logan, who alerted me to this wonderful sale. But I'm kind of sad about it. I'll explain. I'm a Marvel Comics guy and a Marvel Comics collector. This is such big money, I had to have sound effects for it. Yet another big record. Now, I'm a Marvel guy, and the record previously was for Amazing Fantasy 15, published in 1962, which was the first appearance of Spider-Man. Well, DC this past week reclaimed the crown from Marvel. Superman issue number 1 sold for $5.3 million. $5.3 million. Incredible. Now, this isn't the first appearance of Superman. The first appearance of Superman is in Action Comics number 1, which was published in 1938. This is from the 1940s. From 1940, Superman issue number 1. Here's the story. Here's the deal. A comic book record of a single issue selling for the most money belongs now to Superman once more, after a classic story featuring the Man of Steel brings in big bucks. A recent auction sold an 8.0 graded copy of Superman 1. It says rated copy. It means graded copy. Briefly, I'll explain. There's a grading company. The number one most respected grading company is called CGC in the Florida area near Orlando. And this was graded by them. A 10 being perfect. Typically 9.8 is the best grade you will see. You'll see a 9.9. It's very rare to see a 9.9. I've never seen a 10. But this was graded an 8.0. 3.0 copy of Superman 1. Again, this is from the golden age of comics. There were like drives during World War II, paper drives. These were very scarce. And a lot of comics were thrown out by OCD moms that wanted to clean everything. But let me just quickly get through this story and we'll move on to something else. I think this is just outstanding as a comic book fan and collector. $5.3 million for one comic book. Can you believe that? Jesus. My mom had Whiz Comics #1, first appearance of Captain Marvel, and my grandma threw it out. She has pictures holding up mint condition books when she was a little girl. Oh, man. Anyway. So, this sale for $5.3 million, it's groundbreaking. And it now holds the achievement for the most expensive comic book sold. Superman, though, had actually been dethroned by Spider-Man, like I said, for Action Comics #1. For years, Superman's first appearance in Action Comics #1 had been considered a holy grail in comic book collecting, fetching prices as high as $3.2 million for an 8.5 graded copy. Though a near pristine mint edition of Superman's initial outing was one of the most expensive comics ever sold, the record was lost in September of 2021 to that Amazing Fantasy 15 Marvel, first appearance of Spider-Man. Rated a 9.6. Graded. It keeps saying rated in this article. It means graded. Graded a 9.6 and bringing in a sizable $3.6 million, Superman was, until now, unfortunately edged out, depending on your point of view, by a worthy competitor. And Action Comics #1 was downgraded to second place behind Spider-Man. However, this new auction has put Clark Kent back on the maps. CGC announced that a private auction had occurred in January of 2022 where a copy of Superman 1 was sold for the sum of $5.3 million. Unreal. I just think that's incredible. That's big money. And I have a very sizable collection myself, but I only collect Marvel comics from 1960 to 1993. I'm trying to collect everything in the Silver Age of comics, Bronze Age, and Copper Age of comic books, as they're known. So, let me just hurry along. I don't want to bore anyone out there that doesn't give a crap about comic books, but you should. You should, at least from an investment standpoint. It's pretty damn good. Let's see. At an 8.0 grade for Superman 1, CGC in Florida confirmed that the book was tied for the highest grade certified by the company for that particular comic, with only 4 copies ever graded higher than a 6.0 condition by the CGC. Adding to this particular copy's prestige, it came from the Edgar Church Mile High Collection. He started a company, Mile High Comics, in Colorado, hence the name Mile High Comics and Mile High Collection. And it's considered to be one of the largest collections of highly graded, meaning near perfect copies and sought after comic books. Though the seller and buyer remained anonymous, the price tag says it all about how much of an achievement this is for the Man of Steel. There's a lot to unpack with this auction. First, it's amazing that any comic, can bring $5 million. 5.3 actually. That much money means that Superman #1 isn't just the most expensive comic ever sold, it's one of the most expensive books, period. The sale also means that with 8.5 graded Action 1, they said rated. This is annoying me. It's graded, not rated. With an 8.5 graded Action Comics #1, Superman's combined worth from both of these comics in his earliest appearances is nearly $10 million in actual sales, actual cash. For 2 comic books, folks. Action Comics #1 and Superman issue #1. As Superman was known to say back in the day, great Scott. The landmark sale comes at a time when older, rarer comic books are rapidly increasing in value. Thank you. If you're looking on Fistful of... if you're looking on YouTube or in the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group, you'll see boxes and boxes of comic books behind me. That's part of my collection, which ain't too shabby either. So, as I conclude this article... the landmark sale comes at a time when older, rare comic books are rapidly increasing in value and auctions are becoming increasingly commonplace. Not only are choice books becoming highly sought after, but fans are also spending thousands just to possess the books and original comic art. The CGC hypothesizes comic books' influence in television and movie realms is a likely cause for the demand. You think it's because of the movies, and DC, owned by Warner Brothers, is really doing a great job with the Batman. They had stumbled a few times in the past, but they're really getting it right. And the Joker was well received too, before the Batman. And of course Disney Plus, it's Marvel, the MCU as they call it, Marvel Comics universe of film and TV and streaming shows. They're really nailing it. They're doing a fantastic job. So yes, that creates demand for the original source material, whether it's original art or the mass-produced comic books, which are dwindling in quantity as time goes on. And actually, did you know that the coloring agents that these older books were colored with, there's an acid in there that can turn the pages from white to yellow to brown, unless you put them in acid-free protective materials like backing boards and plastic bags. And you have to change those bags every few years to maintain the pristine condition, especially if the comic was bought new. But these days, the printing process, it's on slick paper. The new comics don't have that issue. Of course, you still want to keep them crease-free. You want to keep the binding nice. But in terms of the coloring process deteriorating the books, that's not happening. It's not like brittle paper anymore. But I like the brittle paper. I like the way the old comic books smell, kind of like the Sunday Funnies and the Sunday newspaper. I just love the way it smells. Not because I'm getting a buzz sniffing the ink like that scene in Fast Times at Ridgemont High in 1982, that classic teen R-rated comedy. But I love the way a comic book smells. Always have. I'm a weirdo. So, the idea that movies are creating this demand and high prices and comic book sales does hold water, considering how iconic and film-friendly characters like Batman and Captain America have been in terms of recent sales for millions of dollars. In the first Captain America issue in the 40s, he's punching out Adolf Hitler on the cover. It's an iconic shot, and it was really good pro-propaganda against the axis of evil powers in the World War II conflict. It was really good for the Allies. It was great. Hopefully Spider-Man fans aren't too disappointed in this development. Yeah, I kind of am. I'm a Marvel guy. I like that Spider-Man was number one, but not for long, over Superman in Action Comics 1. So second place is nothing to sneeze at, Marvel fans, but for Superman, returning to the top spot just feels right. I got an exclusive for you, and I'm going to play an audio clip of some opening credits that most of the people that listen to this show, the Nostalgic Podblast, have seen time and time again. Let me find that. I thought I had that for you here. I had some issues. This is actually the third take of this edition of the Nostalgic Podblast. I had some real issues and problems. Here we go. I got the clip for you. Let me play that. Listen to this opening credit sequence and I'll explain.
352 cameras are on.
Winds are okay, Steve. Westerly.
Does it sound familiar?
10 knots. Coming on. I'm in the gig 004. How does that look? Looks good, Steve, and all systems are okay here. The winds are westerly and 10 knots. Okay. This is NASA 1 calling 10 seconds now. 10 seconds, roger. 0, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It looks good at NASA 1. Roger. BCS on switch is on. Okay, Victor. Landing rocket arm switch is on. Here comes the throttle. Chevy breakers in. We have separation. Inboard and outboards are on. We're coming forward with the side stick. Looks good. Roger. I've got a blowout. Vapor 3. Get your pitch to 0. Pitches out. I can't hold altitude. Correction. Alpha 4 is off. Track flight is emergency. Flight call. I can't hold it. She's breaking up. She's breaking.
Steve Austin, astronaut. A man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. We have the capability to make the world's first bionic man. Steve Austin will be that man. better than he was before. Better, stronger, faster.
Boom. That's my favorite version of the $6 Million Man opening credit sequence. And there were 5 seasons and 5 different versions of that opening sequence. Now, I want you to think about the operating room scenes in that opening sequence where it shows Steve Austin being operated on to become the $6 Million Man after Colonel Steve Austin was injured in a crash testing out a new military plane. And in the storyline, he'd been on the moon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For those that don't know, The $6 Million Man began as a movie of the week, a 90-minute movie titled Cyborg, based on the Martin Caidin novel of the same name, Cyborg. First movie was Cyborg, The $6 Million Man. It was not a weekly series at this point. This is key. The ratings were good. So ABC commissioned a second movie titled Wine, Women, and War, which had Britt Eklund in it right before she was a Bond girl and The Man with the Golden Gun. It aired in 1973. And then a third 90-minute movie, Solid Gold Kidnapping, was produced and aired as an NBC movie of the week. It was 90 minutes long, like McMillan and Wife and McCloud and The Virginian. There were 90-minute shows back in the... The Virginian started in 1962, and it was 90 minutes long. It was a Western. And then, you had these, like a rotating Sunday night mystery movie, which were typically 90 minutes. Sometimes it'd be 2 hours, but they were usually 90 minutes long. Columbo and the like. Well, I discovered something. I've been watching Columbo on IMDb TV, which is a free streaming service. And Columbo, by the way, is also on Prime, and it's on Cozy TV and traditional television. And I was watching season 2, episode 6, titled A Stitch in Crime. And that guest starred Leonard Nimoy. It was after Star Trek ended. And I noticed there's in that episode, Leonard Nimoy plays a rogue surgeon. And he puts sutures in this guy's operating on, who's ironically played by Will Greer, who was Grandpa Walton in the Waltons. The Waltons had pretty much just started. The Waltons was brand new. So it's kind of weird. Mr. Spock is operating on Grandpa Walton. But in the shot during the operation scenes, you don't see, because they can't show blood and guts and all that. This was back in the early 70s. It's not like Dr. Oz or something. Or ER. They couldn't be too graphic. So you had like these overhead surgical lights blocking the good stuff, the blood and the effects. And so you just saw like orderlies and surgeons and nurses standing over the patient in an iconic shot. Well, I took this picture and posted it in the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group and in some classic TV groups. And I said, name the show. And I knew most people would say The $6 Million Man, and they wouldn't be wrong. What happened was, when The $6 Million Man, after the 3 90-minute movies aired, became a weekly series starting on January 18th, 1974 as a 1-hour show, they put together the classic opening sequence. In the first season, which was half of a season, it was like a winter replacement show, started, like I said, in January 74. There were a handful of episodes. The next year, season 2, which I played the opening of, great audio there, was a full season. But in that opening sequence, they used a shot from Columbo. And no one's talked about this on the $6 Million Man websites. I'm absolutely correct. So I like to have this little exclusive. It's not earth-shattering, but I think it's kind of cool in pop culture lore. And so when I posted that, named the show this shot's from, I knew most people would say $6 Million Man. I said, you know what? You're half right. But it's actually stock footage from another show. So then everyone started guessing all these medical dramas. Even some outside of the 70s. Like some guessed MASH, which is in the 70s, of course, ended 1983. Some guessed more modern shows like ER, Chicago Hope, and then some classic ones like Medical Center. And I knew that when you see, it's logical. You're going to guess a medical show. You're not going to think of a detective show like Columbo. So it was a pretty good little trick question, if I say so myself. But 2 people got it right. A lady, I won't mention last names, a woman named Julie and a guy named Joseph. Both got it right. So kudos to them, because it was a tough question. People had fun with it. Well, here's where I'm going with this. the not the webmaster, but the administrator, that's what it says in Facebook land, of a classic television group that has over 34,000 members, challenged me and said, your facts are not right. And I can understand why this person made that mistake, because when the $6 Million Man was canceled, this has a point, and those 3 90-minute movies were put into the rerun package, they had to be expanded or cut. And the Universal, who owns the rights to both Columbo and the $6 Million Man, chose to expand them in a 2-hour format. Because think about it. Most TV stations in reruns would have half hour or an hour to schedule an old show. So you can't fit a 90-minute show into an hour time slot. So they expanded it into a two-parter. And what they did, since the show was canceled, they could then pick scenes from earlier $6 Million Man episodes, which they did. In the very first movie, Cyborg, the $6 Million Man, it was retitled The Moon and the Desert, and they added an opening sequence, which is basically the season 5 opening credits. So this webmaster says, I think your facts are wrong. You said the $6 Million Man started on January 18th, 1974. No, the first one aired in 1973. Yes, it was a month after that Columbo episode aired, but it was probably from the $6 Million Man they used in the Columbo. And no. He didn't understand. If you on DVD years ago, Universal released the original 90-minute versions, which I have, which are on camera right now. And I took the liberty of taking screenshots of, there's 2 scenes in that very first TV movie, $6 Million Man. One where it shows Steve Austin being operated on after he lost his legs and right arm and an eye before he's made bionic, and then a second surgery where he's made bionic with his with the implants, the bionic implants and attachments, which at the time now would be $6 billion, right? Inflation, not 6 million. So I tried to explain to him, and you know, he couldn't get past it. He says, well, on NBC.com, look at, for instance, Wine, Women, and War. That's episode 2.3. No. That's because these people that work for these studios, typically they're younger, and they just uploaded the wrong episodes to NBC.com. They uploaded the expanded 2-part version and not the 90-minute version, which is out on DVD. So I took screenshots. I'm like, look, these are the 3 shots. You see just 3 camera angles. You don't see the shot from Columbo. He still didn't believe me. He wasn't grasping it. And I like this guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but I was getting frustrated because I spent all this time playing this little trivia game. People were answering, and on his page, a lot of people were engaged. I mean, where there's 33,000 people were playing along, and I was answering just about each and every one. I have too much time in my hands, folks. And it was a lot of fun. So then he interjects. He goes, you have your facts wrong. And doesn't it just drive you up the wall when you know you're right and someone tries to make you doubt your reality? But I understand why he did that. But he also called me out incorrectly months before about the Land of the Giants original pilot that MeTV airs. For some reason, they aired the original version before. Oh, God, this is so detailed and boring. I'm boring the hell out of people. But if anyone's still following me, Land of the Giants was an Irwin Allen show, and there were 2 versions of the pilot, and eventually the unaired version was released on DVD. Well, that's the version that MeTV airs that was given to them by 20th Century Fox, now owned by Disney. And in that, you didn't have John Williams music. What happened was, when it was picked up by ABC to be a series, Irwin Allen hired John Williams to redo the music scored by Alexander Courage, who had worked on Star Trek previously. He's known for, among other things, scoring the Star Trek theme of the original show with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. And he did the music for Land of the Giants. And they had all these extra scenes and expanded scenes that really gave greater character development to the characters on the Spindrift in Land of the Giants. So anyway, this is so boring and stupid, but not to me, but I'm sure it is to you. So I better move on to something else, and we're going to talk about some current stuff here in a sec. But he questioned me back then, and then he admitted, oh, you were right. He actually recorded it. I said, watch it. Before you say I'm wrong, record the Land of the Giants episode 1 on MeTV, and you will see it's not the one that in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s on USA Network was in the package with the John Williams music, which I have on film, by the way, and in different scenes. So he's like, oh, you're right. So I said, listen, man, I was right about Land of the Giants. Why are you not believing me about the $6 Million Man? I know what I'm talking about. So anyway, we're going to move on to something else. So in my trivia question, where I posted the picture that I knew most people would say was from the opening of the $6 Million Man, and they were right, but it was a stock shot. So the correct answer was that image is a stock operating room shot from a season 2 Columbo episode titled A Stitch in Crime. I know I'm repeating myself, but here's some more detail. With guest star Leonard Nimoy, which aired on Sunday, February 11th, 1973, which was used in the opening credits of the debut of the regular 1-hour series premiere of The $6 Million Man on Friday, January 18th, 1974, which was also used in the opening credits of that series and all seasons 1 through 5 of the regular 1-hour version. I'm not talking about those 90-minute versions, even though they did splice together the season 5 credits. That was what was confusing the guy running this very popular classic TV group on Facebook. So, like I said, it's a bit of a trick question, but if you go back on IMDb TV or Amazon Prime, look up Columbo, Season 2, Episode 6, and you'll see the scene with Grandpa Walton being operated on by Mr. Spock, ostensibly. Figuratively, and that scene later reused in The $6 Million Man, and no one has mentioned it. That's why I say it's an exclusive. I've not read online. I've not heard a podcast. I've heard no one talk about that, but it's absolutely true. So, I just went back and forth with him, and I was and he said, look here at NBC.com. He posted in the group, trying to make me look, not really trying to make me look like an idiot, but he thought I was wrong. And so I replied to him, I said, look, you're showing the syndicated version of the 90-minute cyborg $6 Million Man retitled The Moon in the Desert, which was recut to be expanded into a 2-part, 2-hour format, which they uploaded to NBC.com for whatever reason, in which more stock footage was added back in 1978 after the show was canceled. And I said, just go back and watch the Columbo episode, see for yourself. You will see it, and then compare with the original cut of the pilot, which is on DVD. Shop, compare, save. Furthermore, I said that the regular series premiered on January 18th, 1974, which he kept saying, no, he was quoting March 7th, 73, which was the movie The $6 Million Man. He got that wrong. He goes, you said it premiered on January 18th, 1974. Well, yeah, it did. So what I did is I put the opening credits to the second 90-minute movie, Wine, Women, and War, which they had like a James Bond-typed song, sung by Dusty Springfield, who had a heavenly birthday recently in April 2022. Anyway, I won't play that. I played it. Well, you know what? I will play it. He kept referencing the re-edited season 5 credits. I'm repeating myself. We're going to talk about some other things like DC Cab here in a second, but I guess I will play for you guys that this is this is for an example, just to prove my case and prove my point. This is the second version. I mean, the second 90-minute movie before The $6 Million Man was picked up as a weekly hourly series. And this is what it sounded like. I played it before, but they wanted it to be like a James Bond type thing. Let me play this real quick, and then we'll move on to something more interesting and entertaining. I try to be a history lesson.
Can't be the man he was.
All right, here we go. Here's the opening. See, it's not like the... Gentlemen, we can rebuild it. In fact, Richard Anderson didn't come along till that second 90-minute movie as Oscar Goldman. The character was a different character in the first movie, played by Darren McGavin, who later would sign a contract with Universal to play Kolchak, with a K, Kolchak the Night Stalker, which is like a Columbo in the supernatural realm, where he'd go after vampires and werewolves and things. It only lasted one season, though, unlike Columbo, which was around for decades. But so here is the actual opening of the 90-minute second movie, just as an example. I'm not going to play the other two 90-minute openings, but he kept referencing that season 5 version they tacked on when they expanded to 2 hours. Here it is. I got to get some decaf.
Mission Control. Steve, what is it? What's wrong?
I was hoping you could tell me.
He's alive. He lost an arm, 2 legs, and 1 eye, but he's alive.
I'm not sure he'd want to live if he can't be the man he was.
What if he could be more than the man he was? We have the technology to rebuild him. I want it done no matter what the cost.
He's the man. Catch him if you can, beat him if you can, love him if you can. Now he's the $6 billion man.
Well, like I said, we rise to the occasion.
This is the end credits of that movie.
He's the man, he's the man, he's the man, he's my man. Oh, he's my man. Yeah, let me tell you about him. Can't do without him. He's one of a kind. Now he's the man. Now he's the man. Oh, catch him if you can, beat him if you can, love him if you can. Now he's the man. $6 million man.
It's actually a pretty entertaining 90-minute movie. Like I said, Britt Ekland's in it, and so is Eric Braeden, who's been on The Young and the Restless for decades, and he was very young in that. Again, it aired in 1973. So I'll just give you the air dates of those three 90-minute $6 million man movies. The first one was aired on Wednesday, March 7th, 1973, The Origin. And then on October 20th, 73, that's when Wine, Women, and War aired, which I just played you the opening and end credits song to. So you didn't have the traditional one that was made later in 1974. And then Saturday, November 17th, 1973, Solid Gold Kidnapping, all aired on ABC, and they each scored big ratings, and so they decided to make it a weekly series. And when they did, in January 1874, that's when they took that shot from Colombo of the operating room. Okay, now I can move on. I can take a deep breath. And I don't hold it against that guy. First name Steve, the guy that runs that classic page. I'm grateful to be there and to be a contributor of that page, so I don't want to tick him off. But he was wrong. Dead wrong. NBC.com airs the syndicated versions. Okay, you get it. I'm going to actually do some self-editing here. I had more to this, but I think I've really covered it enough. And I think people are probably tuned out. But you get it. I could prove it a bunch of different other ways. All you have to do is look at a website. I shouldn't give away. This is one of my sources, my secret sources of information, along with my books. But epguides.com as an episode guides. Look up just Google $6 Million Man Ep Guides. That's how you get the right one. And you'll see it. Click it at the very bottom. You'll see the air dates of those 90-minute movies, because seeing is believing. And those are the original cuts that are out on DVD. So I'm good all the way around, proving my case. So let's flash forward to 2022. This morning, I finally saw Lost City in the theater. And this was a really fun movie from Paramount Pictures, not owned by Disney, that isn't pretentious, preachy, or boring. Stunning Sandra Bullock. Never mind the Bullocks, it's the Sex Pistols. Sorry, I digress. She plays a romance novelist named Loretta Sage, who works with a cover model a la Fabio, who's wearing a fake long wig, and he's played by Channing Tatum. And what happens is, like in the beginning of the movie, I thought it was really cute and really entertaining. She's doing a press junket in front of fans of her books, her romance novels, on camera with Channing Tatum's character, and he's wearing this long wig, and they put her in this really tacky, she hates this costume. It's like a purple sequin, like just really, really flashy outfit. Now, and so that's what's going on, and she winds up at the end of this promotional event. She's kidnapped by Harry Potter himself, of course, played by Daniel Radcliffe. And he wants her to translate a map which leads to treasure on a lost island, hence the title, Lost City. Also in the cast, believe it or not, is Brad Pitt. And he plays a hero for hire called Jack Trainer, who helps Channing Tatum's character, Alan Caprizan /Dash McCann, like he has a pen character name and then his real name. That's why there's two names for his character, played by Channing Tatum. They team up to rescue the kidnapped damsel in distress. And when she's taken by the goons after that press function, Loretta, played by Sandra, is wearing that very tight, uncomfortable purple sequin outfit and high heels. And when she first puts on that tacky garment, it's really funny, the dialogue, I think. Sandra Bullock, as the romance author, Loretta, complains that she has a wedgie in the front and the back. No, she goes, I have a wedgie in the back and in the front. And there's all sorts of funny lines, like she's talking about how some weirdo guy fan was bothering her for a picture of her feet. There's some really clever, funny dialogue. It was really amusing, the writing in that and the lines. And she looks fantastic, Sandra Bullock. So, let's see. Naturally, yeah, there's a lot of action amongst the laughs, but it never really tries to be Indiana Jones light. It's just a really good popcorn movie that I enjoyed to watch on the big screen at my local AMC theater. But I must say, I got a mini rant here, unrelated to the pleasant movie itself. There was someone coughing up a lung in that cinema, and I recoiled in horror every time I heard that phlegmy cough. And it was like a sickly cough, not a pollen cough, where you can actually hear the ooze and the illness in their lungs. Like, it was just, luckily I wasn't sitting near them. It was bad. It was bad. And have you ever been in a public place where someone's coughing, and you can smell like phlegm? I mean, when they're really close, it's disgusting. I wasn't that close, but man, when I got home, I took a shower and cleaned off and Listerine and everything, make sure I don't get sick, especially with COVID. I just thought, in today's times, it's just nasty in a post-COVID world. You got to stay home if you're sick like that. I mean, just out of common decency. Another gripe is that at this particular AMC, which is called AMC Parkway Point 15 in Acres Mill in the Cobb County, Georgia area of Atlanta, where the Atlanta Braves baseball switched to play from years ago. They play at the Battery. It's not at the Battery. There's a nice theater at the Battery. That's not what I'm talking about. It's called Silver Spot. This is an AMC. Well, they switched to these cheapo recycled napkins. I'm holding up for the camera now. And they're no good at all. I mean, they disintegrate if one drop of anything gets on them. I mean, look, they're flimsy. They're probably made of recycled material, which is good if it works. And this ain't like the Bounty, quicker picker upper stuff. This is crap. One booger, and it just vanishes into thin air. All right, that was gross, TMI. But I'm just saying. And no, I didn't have a book. I'm just making an example. It's just, I hate these napkins. I brought them here to show you. Anyway, back on topic of the movie itself. The Lost City was released in movie theaters back on March 22nd, 2022, with a length of 1 hour, 52 minutes long. So it's not too long. And as of today, The Lost City has earned way more than its production budget of $70 million, give or take, earning $85 million so far. So it's earned about $15 million in change over budget. So that's great. And counting. And you should stay during the end credits because there's a good final scene, like a Marvel movie or the latest James Bond movie. It was a good show. I recommend it. Like others have said, yeah, it is kind of like the 1984 movie Romancing the Stone, which starred Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas, but not really. It's not really like a carbon copy. Oh, by the way, one of the worst episodes of The Fall Guy with starring Lee Majors, I'll talk about that show a lot, probably too much, but there was a season 4 episode starring Susan Lucci, which aired in September 1984. I have it on film, of course. She played like the Kathleen Turner role in that movie Romancing the Stone, and of course Lee Majors was like the Michael Douglas character, and it was bad. It was a blatant TV take on that hit movie at the time. But in that episode, it did show sexy Heather Thomas and the late Marky Post smoking cigars while making chili, which actually made the entire episode worthwhile for that scene alone. It was really, really sexy. Now, getting back to Sandra Bullock, did you know that she was once the Bionic Girl back in 1989 when she was starting her acting career, when she was in her mid-20s? Yep, it's true. While in New York, Sandra Bullock took acting classes with Sanford Meisner, the Meisner acting technique, and she appeared in several student films and later landed a role in an off-Broadway play titled No Time Flat. Well, television director Alan J. Levy was impressed by Sandra Bullock's performance and offered her a part in the made-for-television movie Bionic Showdown, The $6 Million Man, and The Bionic Woman from 1989. It was the second of 3 reunion movies that were made long after, about over 10 years after the cancellation of the original $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman. You had the Return to $6 Million Man, Bionic Woman, 1987. This one was Sandra Bullock, titled Bionic Showdown. And then you had Bionic Ever After or Bionic Breakdown. That was I think the shooting title of that, where the characters finally married, the Bionic Man and Woman. So anyway, she played the Bionic Girl in that production. And I have this still picture that I had signed by 2 of the 3 actors in the shot. Let me hold it up for the camera. Richard Anderson, Lindsay Wagner, the Bionic Woman herself, and then in the shot is Sandra Bullock. And I really want to get her to sign that. And that's going to be really difficult because, of course, she's an A-list actor and she doesn't do autograph shows or conventions. And she's not on social media. But it's a cool shot. I should play a clip. I want to take this out of the plastic so you can see it clearly on camera. But if anyone out there knows Sandra Bullock, I would love to get this thing signed. I don't know if I ever will. What I'm hoping is she eventually writes a book and goes on a book tour, and then I'll buy the book and have her sign the book, of course, which is what a book tour is designed to do, sell books, and then say, would you sign this too, please? And it's not to sell. I don't want to sell it. I just want to have the trifecta signed by all 3. But she's actually the hardest one's Richard Anderson, because sadly he passed away in 2017. And Richard Anderson signed this for me in 2005 at something called the Western Film Fair. It was a Western film convention. I brought some of my films in my collection to play for the actors that acted in them, and they loved it. And a lot of them, like Richard Anderson, are no longer with us, but they had a great time. Like Ed Nelson. Some of you out there know who Ed Nelson is. He acted with Steve McQueen. He did a lot of television as well as film roles. He was in The Fugitive. And just Ed Nelson was a great guy. He was, I think, the nicest person that I met at that particular convention in Charlotte, North Carolina, the Western Film Fair. And Henry Darrow was there. And Henry Darrow didn't remember being in Wonder Woman. I brought a Wonder Woman episode with Roy Rogers. He was the bad guy, the heavy in it. He didn't remember filming that. And he goes, I used to drink a lot in those days. But he loved watching. It was new to him. Anyway, I'm all over the place in this edition of the Nostalgic Podblast. So anyway, getting back to Sandra Bullock. Let me play, while I take this out of plastic for you, an NBC promo, 45 seconds long, of the Bionic Showdown, which was the second reunion movie of the $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman. And then I'll quickly take this thing out of plastic so you can see it. And I love this picture, and I hope I can get Sandra Bullock one day to sign it. That would be wonderful. Let's see here. Yeah, here it is. Goody. Let me play this for you now. And Lindsay Wagner was so sweet. She signed it, by the way, in 2006 in Tampa, Florida, at her very first convention appearance. I flew down there to meet her, and she signed
Their bionic powers brought them together, and now the power of love may unite them forever.
Please hear me out, Jamie.
But suddenly, terrorists steal their bionic secret, and not even the special powers of a female cyborg can save them.
That's not possible.
Prepare yourself for the all-new world premiere, Bionic Showdown Sunday.
Bionic Showdown Sunday. And I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't very good, I'm sure. Well, I can't speak for Sandra Bullock. I'm sure some people are grateful for the early stuff that they did in their career. But anyway, this thing aired, and she was good in it. And because of this role in Bionic Showdown, this led to her being cast in a series of small roles in several independent films, as well as a lead role in the short-lived NBC television version of the film Working Girl from 1990. That's something I'm going to talk about in a future Podblast. Are television versions of hit movies. I shouldn't say this because someone will take the topic and run with it. But that's something I'm going to do in the near future. I think it'll be an interesting topic. There were shows like 9 to 5, based on the movie with Sally Struthers in the Dolly Parton role. That actually lasted longer than you would think. But anyway, getting back to Sandra Bullock, and I'm almost done. We'll move on to another topic here, and I got to pee like a racehorse here. Sandra Bullock, after the TV Working Girl, went on to obviously appear in several films, such as Love Potion #9 in 1992, The Thing Called Love in 1993, Fire on the Amazon in 1993, before rising to early prominence with her supporting role in the sci-fi action film Demolition Man in 1993 with Sly Stallone. And then, of course, Speed made her an A-list bankable film star, as well as The Net in 1995. And the latter movie, The Net, that's supposedly the reason that she's not on social media, because of things in that movie. Watch that movie, The Net. It's very prophetic. Anyway, so look there on camera. There's the signed picture. And if anyone knows Sandra Bullock, if she were on social media, I would tweet her. It doesn't mean that she would even see it. Maybe it would be an assistant or something and it'd probably get deleted, or wouldn't even make a bit of difference whether she was on social media or not. But again, I don't want it to sell. I want it to keep for the rest of my life. And that's the truth. So this is beyond a Hail Mary long shot. But if anyone knows Sandra Bullock, it's within the sound of my little voice. Please help me get her to sign that. And yeah, and I met Lindsay in June of 2006 in Tampa, and that's when she signed that, the year after Richard Anderson did. And as I mentioned, he passed away, sadly. Richard Anderson, Oscar Goldman, on Thursday, August 31st, 2017, at the age of 91. What are you, some kind of a sadist, Lieutenant Gerard? I've talked about this before. I loved Richard Anderson, but he would mispronounce words. And I do that too, but he would mispronounce pretty common words on The Bionic Woman and on the very last episode of The Fugitive. This is like a 30-second clip. Listen to how he pronounces the word sadist. This is classic. And I can't believe a script supervisor didn't pull him aside, because this is the last episode of The Fugitive. It wound up beating the ratings of The Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and it held the ratings record until November 21st, 1980, when the classic Resolution to the Who Shot JR phenomenon aired on CBS. But this was on ABC. This is the final episode of The Fugitive. Listen to how good old Richard Anderson pronounces the word sadist. Let's see. Yeah, I had it right here. What are you, some kind of a sadist, Gerard?
Dick, good to see you. I know it looks strange, but I'm in custody.
What kind of a sadist are you, Lieutenant?
No, Lynn.
Get out of here. My wife's going to be here any minute. I'm not going to subject her to this.
Oh, Lynn,
You having a good time? Enjoying your revenge?
If you think I'm enjoying being here, Mr. Taft, you're very much mistaken.
He's giving me a chance.
Chance, like my name, Chance. I said that in a previous Podblast. It's weird that they're not saying my name, they're saying the word. I'm not crazy, but it's funny. I hear it in songs. I hear it in almost every show. Anyway, so you would think a script supervisor would have called for another take or pulled Richard Anderson aside and said, sir, no offense, but the word is sadist. Say, S-A-Y, like say, dist, sadist. Anyway, but that was from The Judgment Part 2, the 120th episode of the classic series The Fugitive by Quinn Martin Productions. And that aired on Tuesday, October 29th, 1967. And beat out Ed Sullivan's debut of the Beatles. It's a big deal. Okay, so let's see. Back to wanting that autograph of Sandra Bullock. Last thing I'll say is I'm not a kid. I don't have an illness. There's nothing sympathetic about me at all. I'm just a middle-aged guy, but man, I'd love that autograph on this photo with the other actors pictured with Sandra, and I adore them all equally. So, but since Sandra is an A-lister, I think my only opportunity might be if she writes that book and goes on tour, which probably won't happen. But maybe she'll wind up doing a collector show or something, or San Diego Comic-Con. I can see that. A lot of A-listers do attend San Diego Comic-Con to promote projects they're on. So let's move on. Now, item. I did notice on speaking of free streaming services, Tubi TV, spelled Tubi, is a great new streaming service that offers some pretty rare classic television content, such as Grady, which was the short-lived spinoff of Sanford and Son. That was Fred's pal Grady Wilson. And the spinoff of the Sanford and Son show, titled Grady, ran on NBC Thursday nights at 8 from December 4th, 1975 until March 4th, 1976. In January 1976, NBC moved the time slot up to 8:30 on the same night. But did you know in the cast was feature Hey, Dwayne on What's Happening a year later. And in this show, Haywood Nelson is the actor's name. He played Haywood Marshall, one of Grady's two grandkids. Grady was played by Whitman Mayo, who also did a movie I loved, underrated, DC Cab. And DC Cab was written and directed by Joel Schumacher, based on a story by Topper, Carew, and Schumacher, starring Max Gale, who people remember from Barney Miller, but in DC Cab, he wasn't wearing his hairpiece. So he was sans his hairpiece. Adam Baldwin from My Bodyguard, Mr. T from the A-Team, Gary Busey, Marsha Warfield from Night Court, Irene Cara from Fame and Flashdance. She did the song in Flashdance, What a Feeling by Giorgio Romardo, did the music. And, of course, Whitman Mayo. And DC Cab was released on December 16th, 1983. It cost $7 million to make, but it made $16 million for Universal Pictures at the movies, not including home video revenue. And in the story, naive but good-natured young man Albert Hockenberry, played by Adam Baldwin, arrives in Washington, D.C. with plans to work for his late father's Army buddy Harold, played by Max Gale, owner of the rundown District of Columbia Cab Company. Aware of the sorry state of his business and from the growing competition from the popular Emerald Cab Company, Harold wants to clean it up but doesn't have the financial means to do so. Complicating matters is the motley group of cab drivers that he has working for him. They all see driving as a dead-end job while they wait for better lives until Albert inspires them to work as a team. A valuable violin is found in one of the cabs, earning Harold and his wife a $10,000 reward as owners of the cab. Harold wants to share the money with the drivers and let them invest in the cab company as partners. However, his greedy wife, Myrna, picks up the reward money and tosses Harold and Albert's belongings out of the house. The cabbies are not happy about losing their share of the reward, so Albert decides to donate $6,063 of his own money to the cab company and convinces the drivers to stay and make something of the company and themselves. The cabbies completely overhaul the entire business, and the revitalized company soon beats Emerald Cab as the most popular in the city in Washington, D.C. Later on, the cabbies work together to rescue Albert and a diplomat's 2 children after they're kidnapped by the bad guys. The movie ends with a parade in DC Cab's honor. Let's listen to a little bit. The actual official trailer is not available anywhere. I don't think it's released on home video. It'll probably surface one of these days. Here's a quick 45-second TV commercial for DC Cab. This is pretty funny.
DC Cab. They've got class.
Where to, baby?
Nowhere with you.
And they care.
You charge Mr. and Mrs. Tomatsu $195?
They had a lot of luggage. Kill. We're the worst company in town, and we know it.
Get out of my cab, I'm rich!
You don't have to shut us
This
down.
company is closed pending further investigation.
Make an investment in DC Cab.
If I wanted responsibility, I'd have been a damn sex surrogate.
Fasten your seatbelt. Because they're back on the street. DC Cab.
I love that movie. Did you hear that girl at the beginning? Where you going, babe? Where to, babe? Nowhere with you. That's probably what Sandra Bullock's going to say when I try to get an autograph. Oh, Lord. All right. I'm punchy, folks. I'm low on sleep. So Grady, I'm going to play a quick clip of the opening of Grady. The theme was nothing like the Sanford and Son theme. Man, the Sanford and Son theme was iconic. This one's kind of just basic TV, and I've got to take a whiz. This coffee's running through me. So I'm going to play a little bit of an episode of Grady while I do that. And here we go. Here's what it sounded like, and I think I pulled that clip right here. Yeah, doing this live is sometimes a bitch. Excuse my language.
If it's not are the students in your class.
This is Grady, and it's on Tubi TV again. Hang on a second. Oh, Lord, here comes Grady. Gotta get past this opening. This is not an ad, but this is just some nondescript music from the station that it aired on. This is from WAEN TV in Atlanta, actually, of all places where I'm located. Here's the opening to Grady, the spinoff of Sanford and Son. Finally.
And that's how it was 200 years ago in the Continental Congress. This bicentennial message was brought to you.
That's just how it was in the Continental Congress. Not one black Continental Congressman.
You know, Grandpa's right. Why should we get all excited over the bicentennial? 200 years ago, we were all slaves.
But that's what the bicentennial is supposed to be about. To show how far this country's come. We're not slaves anymore.
Tell that to the guys down at the car wash.
So as far as you're concerned, you don't buy the bicentennial?
Right. I don't buy the bicentennial. Now, I'm not against this country having its 200th birthday party, but I don't know too many blacks who can afford to bring a present.
Well, you know, I can dig that.
You know, Poppy, I got a great idea. You know, you might be interested in a Black American history course I'm giving at night school.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, what?
No, Poppy, I mean, the course starts tonight. It's open to everyone, and I bet you'd love it.
That's a good idea, Gramps.
Yeah, my grandpa, the freshman.
Me go to school?
Well, why not?
Why not? Do you know how long it's been since I was in a classroom? The last time I went to school, they only had 2 R's.
Poppy.
And I flunked both of them.
Didn't you ever pass anything, Gramps?
I got an A in spelling.
Well, all right.
Well, it's not so all right because there is no A in spelling. I flunked that too.
Now, come on, Poppy. When you were going to school, you didn't have much time because you were helping to support your family. But you've got the time now, and I think you would love it.
Right, you'll learn there's more to Black American history than George Washington Carver and Al Jolson. And who knows, I mean, by the time you finish the course, you might even want to be invited to the bicentennial birthday party.
Wait, hey, okay, wait a second. How old are the students in your class, Hal?
All right, they're all ages, from 20 to 60 or 67, depending on your decision.
You gonna take the class, Gramps?
What?
Are you gonna take the class?
Whoa, wait a minute. Now, that depends.
Hey.
Is it co-ed?
Poppy, you are going to learn. Now, what difference does it make whether or not it is co-ed?
Well, Ellie, if it's not co-ed, I'm not going to the prom.
Poppy,
you get the
co-ed.
idea.
Are you in?
Okay, I'm in.
All right. Okay.
Yay! So, again, that theme is nothing like the Quincy Jones classic Sanford and Son theme. And I don't know if I mentioned this. He's living at his daughter's house in an integrated neighborhood, middle-class neighborhood. He's left Watts, which is where Fred Sanford and Lamont lived in the L.A., California area. So, moving on, Moon Knight. I've talked about Moon Knight on Disney Plus, and I enjoyed it, and I love the way the costume looks. Watched episode 3. The costume looks incredible. It really does. It looks awesome. To back up here, Moon Knight was first seen in comic books by Marvel Comics in a series called Werewolf by Night, issue 32, which I showed on camera, which originally was on newsstands in May of 1975. But now this series, in my opinion, it's sort of hit a snag with the 3rd episode. At one point, the actors literally look like they're in Disney Springs in Orlando, Florida on a ferry boat instead of in Egypt where they're supposed to be. And then in the next scene, it looks like they're in medieval times, a medieval times restaurant in the jousting arena. I swear to gosh, you have to see it. And it's kind of confusing. And unfortunately, in the 3rd episode, we don't see the hero in costume until way too late in that 3rd episode. It had kind of a weak ending, a confusing story, but I haven't finished it. And a lot of people were down on WandaVision, which ultimately was great. So I don't want to be like that. I'm going to hang in there throughout the entire thing because MCU really have not let me down. I've said before, Hawkeye wasn't my favorite, but it still was good and very entertaining. And the other thing about this episode, it felt like an old music video, like Don't Cry by Asia. Remember that? Remember Asia? They had like 2 albums. Like some of the members of like Steve Howe from Yes joined that band. Actually, I liked those albums back in the day. I'm going to play a little bit of that song. Remember this music video? It was like kind of like inspired by Indiana Jones or something. Let me get this to play for you. This song, Don't Cry. Yeah, here it is. I had it.
Hard times you had before you. I knew when I first saw you. You girl, you've always been mistreated, cheated. So leave it all behind you. It took so long to find you. I know that we can last forever, ever and more. Don't cry now that I found you. Don't cry, take a look around you. Don't cry, it took so long to find you. Do what you want, little darling, please don't cry. I knew I'd never doubt it. I was so sure about it. Don't think of all that's been before. I'll hear you when you're calling, but I'll catch you when you're falling. Don't worry, I will always be there like never Don't cry now that I found you. Don't cry, take a look around you. Don't cry, well, it took so long to find you. Do what you want, little darling, please don't cry. Now that I found you. Don't cry, take a look around you. Don't cry, well, it took so long to find you. Do what you want, little darling, please don't cry.
I like that old video, music video.
It's lovely to be here in Australia. Now we're going to be the stage for a minute and leaving the...
All right. So, about Moon Knight, Ethan Hawke's in it. Great actor. I love the Before Sunrise movies, and they made a trilogy, every 10 years or so, 20 years. But man, he looks bad, man. I think he's ready for Before Supernova. Man, they should cast more ugly guys like me. Anyway, but I guess the cigarettes might have done it. I don't know. But he's one of the best actors there is, Ethan Hawke. But again, there's not much Moon Knight, at least in episode 3. There's one action sequence towards the end of the movie, but it's confusing. The plot is confusing. Item, let's move on to something else. This is kind of cool. Here's a fact that I posted in the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group. Back on Sunday, April 15th, 1956, the world's first color television station launched. At the time, the call letters were WNBQ TV in Chicago. And it hit the airwaves at 4:15 p.m. as NBC President Robert Sarnoff pushed a button and ushered in a new age of television. Channel 5 became the world's first all-color television station as Wide World carried the event to 110 NBC affiliate stations all over the United States of America. The Wall Street Journal estimated that Chicago, Illinois, had about 50,000 color receivers working at that time in 1956, with the lowest price for a color television set retailing for $595 back then. By late 1968, the number of color television set households grew to approximately 865,000 in the Chicagoland market, which was 33% of the total number of television sets in the area. Item, this is something I didn't know, no clip or anything. Remember Talia Shire? She's best known as playing Adrian in the Rocky films. Adrian! I didn't know this until I was researching tonight's Podblast. She's the sister of excellent movie director Francis Ford Coppola. I did not know that. I knew, of course, about Shirley MacLaine being the sister of Heaven Can Wait, Shampoo, Warren Beatty, but I did not know that Talia Shire is the sister of Francis Ford Coppola. So, and I was going to pull a funny clip of the Patty Duke show. I have it on 16mm film. It was one with Sal Mineo, and then there was another funny one about Cleopatra in season 1 where she's trying to act on stage and she gets stage fright and her voice doesn't work. There's a funny line by Richard. Eddie Applegate played Richard, her boyfriend, and she goes, "I could be discovered," and he goes, "More like found out. Like you're nuts." Anyway, I thought that was funny. I was going to pull that clip, but I ran out of time. But I just told you about it. Now, briefly about Patty Duke on DVD, there was another screw up where, after the opening credits and the last scene before the end credits, it would say "brought to you by." Like, the Patty Duke show is brought to you by Breck Shampoo. Well, on the DVDs, they would fade to black early, like they added it and superimposed a phony fade to black, and there would be action, like we would say, "The Patty Duke show is brought to you by," and then it would cut off. And on my film prints that I have a ton of them on 16mm film uncut, it has that in there. Meaning there's action, meaning Patty's acting, or whatever actors are in the scene, they're actually acting. There may not be dialogue. Sometimes you can actually hear dialogue too, under the announcer. "The Patty Duke show has been brought to you by." And I don't know why they didn't put that in the DVDs, or those are the same versions that are syndicated by MGM, now owned by Amazon, for Antenna TV or MeTV, whoever picks up the Patty Duke show at the time. This TV, I think, airs it currently, or they were. But again, they cut over 3 minutes out of each half-hour show to air more commercials. So that's why I like streaming. That's why I like IMDb TV, because the episodes are uncut. Now, yes, they have commercials, but they're not long commercial breaks, and they're randomly inserted by a computer. And there is some repetitiveness in terms of the spots as they sell ad time, but I still think it's great, and it's free. And they boast and claim that IMDb TV will always be free. That's the first thing you see when you stream a show, is that little claim. Item, Kmart store closing to 2022. There's only 3 Kmart stores left after a new round of closures. There's so many nostalgic memories of being a kid and enjoying a cherry icy when a blue light special would go off, and you always had the scent of garden hoses, which filled my nostrils as I shopped for toys as a kid in Kmart. It's just sad. I mean, look, we're advancing. Business models change. There's disintermediation. That's what happened with the Milkman and the like. Things happen. That's what happened with Blockbuster Video, with Netflix. It happens. As business evolves, things change. But it is sad for me to see Kmart going away. And someone commented very negatively that used to work for that retail chain. And he was like, good. He's all bitter, but I liked it. Let me just read this from USA Today. Kelly Tyko, Tyko, wrote this article, April 11th, 2022. Soon there will only be 3 open Kmart stores in the United States of America. The Kmart store in Avenel, New Jersey, 15 miles south of New York City, is the latest store scheduled to permanently close on Saturday. That's last Saturday, as we're live. SB360 Capital Partners is managing the store closing sale according to the liquidation firm's website. Once it shuts down, the number of Kmarts in the U.S., once well over 2,000 stores, will be down to 3, as I said 2 times already, in the continental U.S. That means not including Alaska and Hawaii. Everybody knows that, but just to clarify. And a handful of stores elsewhere, according to multiple reports, in a retail world now dominated by Walmart, Target, and Amazon. Target's going to be next. Target will be the next Kmart. It just will. It seems to be less and less busy. I don't shop at Target anymore, and a lot of people don't, but anyway. But for now, Kmart stores in the continental U.S. will continue to operate in Westwood, New Jersey, Bridgehampton, New York's Long Island, and in Miami, Florida. Those are the 3 locations left. Item. Milestones in music from the last few days include this. On Monday, April 14th, 1980, Iron Maiden's self-titled debut album was released. I loved Eddie, the mascot, and my buddy drew a comic when we were teenagers of the origin of Eddie. Anyway, I won't bore you with that. It was cool, though. It was pretty twisted, but, he basically, he is executed for murder, and he gets fried by a flamethrower, and that's why he looks the way he does. You remember, like, the mirrors and all the products. I love Iron Maiden. Anyway, timeline, 1982. I got roasted for this and lambasted. I posted an untouched old photo of Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne, all in good fun, just to compare their appearance from 40 years ago to now. And I said, Ozzy and Sharon, who today barely resemble themselves in this photo from 1982. I could have worded that better. And holy hell, did I strike a nerve with some folks. Someone said, no one looks the same 40 years later. And they're right. It just... I should have worded that differently. Item. Francine Drescher. Did you know this? She's, of course, best known for her role as the nanny in the hilarious 1990s comedy, the same name, The Nanny. And I loved her in a movie called The Hollywood Knights, an R-rated, kind of like a pre-Porky's in 1980. But as of October 15th, 2021, she's now the president of the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, replacing Gabrielle Carteris, who played Andrea in Beverly Hills 90210 and in the reboot and revival from 2019, I think it was, titled 90210. Item. Disney does not yet own Indiana Jones' Adam Ant, not the singer from the 80s, but the character from Hanna-Barbera from 1965, Atom, like an atom bomb, Adam Ant, or The Price is Right, which leads us to this. I think I mentioned last time, Disney does own MASH, and that really surprised me. I've got an update for you, and we're going to wind down this edition of the Nostalgic Podblast. Let's see. Yeah, it's time for our update. And I have kind of a mini little rant pertaining to our update for this show.
This is Jeopardy!
Gonna play a quick, like, 15-second clip. This can't be right, what I'm gonna play for you. This can't be proper grammar, and I have researched it. Okay, Ken Jennings is back as host. I prefer Mayim Bialik as the host, and she's going to be back before the reruns start. In July, I think July 29th, 2022 is when the rerun starts. So she'll be back. But there was a question when Mayim was hosting that made no sense to me in terms of the grammar. Let me play it for you now. This is very brief. Listen to this, and you tell me if I'm off base or not with what I'm thinking with this question here. Listen.
Multiple meanings for.
Hang on, here it is.
Yes. Multiple meanings for. To strike down hard with a foot or something that's affixed to show a fee has been paid. Abigail. What is stamp? Yes.
Okay, stamp. No, it's stomp, as in stomp your foot or stomp the yard. Let me play it again.
Yes. Multiple meanings for. To strike down hard with a foot or something that's affixed to show a fee has been paid. Abigail. What is stamp? Yes.
No, it's stomp. Am I wrong? Someone let me know in the comments. Is it, or just write me, is it stomp or stamp your feet? I contend it's stomp, like stomp the yard. It's not stamp the yard, it's stomp the yard. So, anyway, moving on. I'm gonna unboxing here. I have an unboxing. Something came from England finally, a confection, a chocolate treat. And this ties into something from a couple episodes ago of the Nostalgic Podblast, where I had our question of the week and the nostalgic snack of the week all in one. And I posted a meme of 12 snack items asking which one would you bring back if you could. Well, we won't rehash all that because we've already covered it. But in the comments, Louis Angels mentioned something that wasn't even in the picture that I loved. It was this treat, the Marathon Bar. Let me play a quick commercial, 30-second old commercial from 1975 for this product. I wound up ordering it, and it finally arrived today, or actually yesterday. It's the middle of the night as I'm live. Yeah, here it is. Here's the commercial. I played this commercial before.
I do everything fast. Marathon John, you can't eat a Marathon candy bar fast. Quick, Claude. It lasts a good long time. I show you. Milk chocolate, delicious caramel, and chewy. Told you, nobody eats a Marathon bar quick, Claude.
Marathon lasts a good long time.
Marathon Bar. Well, okay, I'm going to recap something, not rehash something, recap it. The Marathon Bar, it was braided chocolate over braided caramel. And currently, Cadbury Chocolate has the rights to the Marathon Bar. And it's sold in England. And it's called there the Curly Whirly Bar. And I found out, thanks to this gentleman, it's available at Amazon. And today it arrived from England, like I just said. So let's do an unboxing and a taste test in a second. Watch it be poisoned and I die live on camera. But what the Marathon Bar is, as I open the package, this is something that I found online. Have you ever wondered what happened to the Marathon Bar? The Mars Candy Company introduced it in 1973, and it was, this sounds so, I try not to have a dirty mind. It was a full 8 inches of braided caramel covered in milk chocolate, and it was marketed as the candy bar you can't eat quickly in commercials by some kind of a cowboy guy, like you heard in that spot I just played. And it came in a bright red, orangish red wrapper. And on the back was a ruler to show you just how long it was. So, long story short, Mars discontinued the Marathon Bar in 1981 to the dismay of many Marathon Bar lovers. And what I did was, okay, when he told me it's available on Amazon, this is what Bill said. Bill said, quote, Cadbury Chocolate has the rights to the Marathon Bar. It's sold in England. It's called the Curly Whirly Bar, available on Amazon. And he's right. And as soon as I read that, I satisfied my nostalgic sweet tooth craving and ordered a 5-pack, which is right here. And it was free, actually, because I'm a Prime subscriber. So shipping is free, including international shipping, which I'm sure they will discontinue. I think it's supposed to just be domestic, or maybe not, but that's a great selling point for Amazon, that you get free shipping, including international. And I just used points on my Amex, so it didn't cost me a thing. So let me open this and see what this candy's all about, and see how similar it is. Going to be using a memory of my taste buds. Man, let's see. I hope it's not melted. I hope I don't chop my finger off slicing this thing open. Let's see. I can't wait to dig into this candy bar. So thank you, Bill, for telling me about this. And it got here fast too. Okay, here. Let me just see on camera. Holy shit! It's a 5-pack. This looks like the size of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory's candy bar with the golden ticket inside. This is not what I pictured. It is a 5-pack. I'm going to hold it up on camera. If you're listening at fistfulofradio.com or Apple or Stitcher, this won't mean anything to you, but I'm holding it up for the camera for YouTube and the Facebook group, The Nostalgic Podblast. This says best before October 9th, 2022. So I'm well within the expiration date here at the end of April 2022 as we're live. But there's a 5-pack. Damn, I was hoping it was individually wrapped so that it could stay fresh. I guess I'll just stick it in the freezer, but I'm going to open it up and try it in a second. Not now, because I want to play a clip so I don't just have dead air while I'm fumbling around with this thing. But there it is. Can you see that? It does feel like the Marathon bar as I'm holding the package. It really does. I'll dig into it and see if I can tap into my child's mind's eye and compare it. So, again, thanks, Bill. Item. Here's a good clip. It was Jackie Robinson Day on April 15th, honoring the day that Jackie Robinson, number 42, made his major league debut, breaking up segregation in the game of baseball. And here's a very nice clip where Jackie is discussed by Buck O'Neill with Dave Letterman on his CBS Late Show. And this is from Letterman's official YouTube channel titled Letterman. You should subscribe there. They post videos, at least, I think the average is about 2, sometimes 3 per day. And they're excellent clips from his NBC show, his morning show, and his CBS show. But let's listen to this, and I'll try the Curly Whirly bar, hence the Marathon bar. But God bless the great Jackie Robinson.
This was a star player and manager for the Kansas City Monarchs and the first black coach in Major League Baseball. Please welcome a true baseball pioneer, Buck O'Neill. Buck. Bill, good to hear you. Thank you for being here. I don't mean to embarrass you. Do you mind if I ask how old a man you are, sir?
84.
84 years old.
No, I'm 86.
86 years old.
I forgot a few years. I'm 86.
86. And you started playing baseball at what age? How old a man were you? How old a kid were you?
12.
12?
12 years old.
Now, how does that happen? Because in 12 years old, now kids are playing, Little League baseball.
Oh, well, and my daddy was a baseball player, and I followed them around, watching them play, and I always had good hands, see. And the old men would throw me the ball, and I would catch it, and I was a ham, I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Where were you when you started playing professional baseball?
Carabel, Florida. Oh, professional?
Yeah.
Oh, professionally, I'm with the Memphis Red Sox.
And how did that, this is when you were 12?
No, well, you said professionally.
Well, you started playing professional baseball when you were 12.
No. No, I started playing professional baseball with the Memphis Red Sox.
I see. How old were you then?
I got to be 23.
Oh, I see. Well, I got it all screwed up then. I'm sorry.
Right.
I thought you started playing professional ball when you were 12. Well, no wonder.
No, I wasn't that good. But I was good.
Yeah. And were you recruited by the team? Did they scout you? How did they know about you?
Well, I played all over the country before I got to the Kansas City Monarchs. But I played with a team in Shreveport, Louisiana, the Shreveport Academy Giants, and they were like a farm team to the Monarchs. So the Monarchs trained the next spring in Shreveport, and I was on that team, so they saw me, they liked me, and say, we're going to give you a job.
Let's go. Let's play.
Yeah.
Now, this was in the years of the Negro Leagues.
That's right.
And they existed simultaneously with the Major Leagues, which did not allow white players in those days. And they had like 10 teams, 12 teams, played all over the country?
Well, 8 teams in the Negro American League, 8 teams in the Negro National League.
And what was the quality of play? I mean, how did if a Negro League team would play like the New York Yankees, how would that go in those days?
Well, on my day, when we played the New York Yankees today, I think we might have beaten them.
Really?
And we played that day. We know we played Major League All-Star. We won the majority of the games from the Major League All-Stars. But it wasn't that we were better than the Major League All-Stars, but the fact is the Major League All-Stars were actually just making a payday. But we had to prove, we were trying to prove to the world that they weren't superior because they were white.
Right.
And we weren't inferior because we were black.
Yeah.
We had a point to prove, so we would stretch that single into a double, that double into a triple, that triple into a home run.
Did you, tell us about Jackie Robinson.
Ooh, outstanding individual. And Jackie was so different than we were because we were acclimated to segregation. But not Jackie. Jackie came to the Monarchs in 1945. We'd been going to a filling station in Oklahoma for 20 years, the Monarchs. We'd never gone to the restroom because on the door it said for white men only. So Jack is there, and we played that night in this town, and the next day we go to the filling station to get some gas. The man put the hose in the tank, said, oh, you boys were wonderful as usual. They filled the park up, good to see you. Jackie got off the bus, started walking to the restroom. He said, boy, where you going? I said, I'm going to the restroom. He said, boy, you know you can't go to that restroom. Jackie said, take the hose out the tank. Now the man thought then, because we got a 50-gallon tank on this side. We got a 50-gallon tank on that other side. He's not going to sell that much gas, to one customer until we got back there again. You know what he said? You boys can go to the restroom, but don't stay long.
Comes down to economics a lot of times, doesn't it?
Of course. But the gist of that story is this. From that day on, we never got gas at the station. We couldn't go to the restroom. We never played in a town that they didn't have a place for us to stay and to eat. Jackie said, listen, you're playing, you're making money for these people. This is a capitalistic society. You don't have to take these things. Thank you, Jackie.
It's hard to imagine, isn't it? It must be very difficult to imagine, or to even pretend to imagine, what that was like before Jackie Robinson came to the major leagues, and the struggle that was his and everybody's really in the sport during the time that the transition was being handled. But I guess we'll never see anything like that again, thank God.
See, when Branch Rickey signed Jackie Robinson to that contract, that was the beginning of the modern-day civil rights movement. That was before Brown versus Topeka. Martin Luther King was a sophomore at Morehouse at the time. Miss Rosa Parks hadn't,
Georgia,
decided not to get off that bus. That was the beginning of the modern-day civil rights movement.
And as a man who was making his living playing ball in the Negro Leagues at the time, did you think that was being done the right way? Were you happy? Were you pleased with how that was being facilitated? Did that satisfy you more or less?
Oh, yes. Oh, man, it made all of us feel good because, listen, when Rube Foster organized the Negro Leagues in 1920, he was thinking during that period that the American League would take a black team, and the National League would take a black team. This is what he was thinking. He was thinking this in 1920. So now it's finally happening in 1947. But hallelujah, it's finally happening.
There's hope for everybody. Yeah. And you have the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in Kansas City, Missouri. And what is you're the founder, you're the curator, what do you do there?
Well, and right now I'm the chairman of the board.
Chairman of the board.
You
Good for
know, yeah, because I'm old. See, they put the old man. Chairman. I'm the chairman of the board.
And it's open to the public, and
Yeah.
when they're in Kansas City for a ball game or whatever, they should drop by.
You got to
and take a look.
come, and it's amazing the people's coming. The Major League Baseball players.
Yeah.
When they come to Kansas City, they want to see the museum. Come on, Buck, take me to the museum. It's wonderful.
What do you think of guys playing today? Is there anybody you see playing today that kind of reminds you of you or the fellows you played with?
Ken Griffey. Yeah.
He could play, yeah.
Ken Griffey can play. A lot of guys. One thing about it is, people are saying, now, since I'm an old man, they say, well, you think that they couldn't play like we play. What do you mean? They're better. You understand what I mean? They're bigger, they're quicker, they're faster. Yes. The only difference is this. The difference in my era, the best athlete in the world played baseball. The best white athlete in the world played Major League Baseball. The best black athlete in the world played Negro League Baseball, for the simple reason that football, basketball was more or less college sports.
Right. Baseball then
and to
really
make a living professionally, you played baseball, so we had to pick it.
That was the showcase.
This supply,
absolutely.
the supply was actually greater than the demand. It's just the opposite now. The demand is greater than the supply. We can't get enough good ball players.
It's a great pleasure to meet you, and I hope to come see your museum one day.
Please do.
Thank you very much, Buck. Buck O'Neill, ladies and gentlemen.
Great clip. And check out Letterman on YouTube. Thanks for the use of that clip in advance. Better to beg for forgiveness. Anyway, so I want to shout out to the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group member Robin Seeger, who alerted me that ABC had, she said, quote, a special of him on David Muir tonight with his son and granddaughter. So thanks to her, I saw a very nice tribute to number 42, Jackie Robinson, at the very end of Nightline on ABC Saturday morning, April 16th, 2022. It was great. And it's really sad that Chadwick Boseman passed away, who played the great Jackie Robinson in the movie 42, which also starred Harrison Ford. And I worked on that set as an extra among many extras. And it was a great experience. I mean, there were hundreds in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was like an overnight thing. But I got to see Chadwick Boseman in action in playing that iconic real role. It was great. Excuse me. Now it's time for our weekly segment. We're going to honor, I can't honor everybody in the interest of time, but I must honor some folks here on their birthday. I've got to start with who we just heard. David Letterman. He turned 75 years old on April 12th. He was born on Saturday, April 12th, 1947 in Indianapolis, Indiana. And he shared a great video on his YouTube channel, Letterman, and told an interesting story I'm going to play. This isn't very long. It's about 5 minutes long or so. I want to play this clip. And he's talking about how he got knocked out. And in the previous Podblast, I played a clip of him on Late Night with Seth Meyers on NBC. And he said his son would not let him tell the story. Well, I guess he got clearance. He finally told the story he teased about. And I want to play that for you now. Here it is. Here's the story of how Dave got knocked out.
I'm Barbara, and this is Dave.
Hi, Barbara. How are you?
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. It's my Diamond Jubilee.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, it is.
By the way, thank you very much for having me on the show. I'll be brief because I know you have other guests, and you weren't here last time, and I hope you're feeling much better.
I wasn't sick. Okay. Anyway,
I was told you were ill.
No, I wasn't sick. So you have a little story you're going to tell.
Well, not a little story. It's kind of an epic, and it's a big story in my life because it was the day of firsts. First time I'd ever been knocked unconscious. And first time I have ridden in an ambulance, and first for my son, who also was in the ambulance with me. Now, having said all of that, it's sort of like, oh my God, what happened to Dave?
Yeah.
Well, here I am, and it's a pretty good story. Harry and I, last summer, because he's at an age where he's thinking about going to college. So we would go visit colleges. And it was great fun because they were all just road trips, Harry and me out loose, running around, having fun. And I can remember on this particular day, as we left to go on this road trip, my wife and Harry's mother, same person, said, are you two taking this seriously? And we said, oh, sure, come on. So anyway, here was the plan. We drive to the campus, we circle the campus, we find a place to park centrally located. Harry goes his way, I go my way, and Harry says, I don't want to see you. If you see me, don't look at me. And I said, I got it, because he doesn't want dopey old dad there on campus with the kid.
Sure.
Makes perfect sense to me. So Harry goes looking around the campus. I go into the campus village, and guess what was there? Warby Parker. Do you know why they call it Warby Parker?
I don't.
It's the name of a guy invoked in some beat literature, the name of the author I can't recall at this moment. Anyway, so I'm always in the market for glasses.
Sure. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
He shows that there's no lenses in his glasses. He puts his fingers through the frames.
And there's a Starbucks. So I love coffee because, as you know, without the caffeine, I'd have no personality.
Right.
Okay, so now on this particular campus, there's these enormous behemoth electric scooters. Big, huge, and they're everywhere as though dropped from space. So now I'm out shopping, and I wait for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I think, okay, it's time to go meet my son back at the car. In this hand, I have the Warby Parker purchase, and in this hand, I have the scalding hot coffee. And I'm walking purposefully because I know I'm late. I don't want Harry to wonder where the hell Dad is.
Right.
And out of nowhere, I fall full force and hit my face on the cement sidewalk, broke the fall with my face, and I saw this white flash in my head, and that was it. And I'm out cold. I don't know how long I was out. I finally come to, and the first thought I have is, Harry is going to be so pissed off. So now there's an ellipse of a half a dozen people, Good Samaritans, standing around me, people I don't know, and everyone's looking at an old man bleeding to death, and they each said, are you okay? And of course, lying, oh, I'm fine. No, that was nothing. You got to see me in the shower.
Whoa.
Yeah. And now comes a fire truck. And one of these good-hearted people has phoned 911 to get the fire truck to come. And a guy hops out of the fire truck and he said, are you okay? And again, lying, I said, sure. What could be wrong here? Pool of blood? I'm fine. And so he goes back to the truck and I hear him call and he said, yeah, we have a man in his 70s who fell on the sidewalk and was knocked out. And I thought to myself, wow, that poor bastard. And then it turned out it was Daddy. Okay, so now the fire truck leaves. Next comes an ambulance, again with the siren. And these guys are on me, and they load me on the brace. They put me on the thing and shove me into the back of the ambulance. They get an IV in me, and one of the Good Samaritans has gathered up my belongings, my Warby Parker glasses. Hey, maybe I'll get some. You know?
Yeah.
And some other belongings that hit the deck when I hit the deck. So they hand those to the ambulance guys. They put me in the ambulance, and now they got me on a neck brace, and they're trying to staunch the blood flow. And I said, are you
protesting or are you out of it?
Oh, no, you're playing along. When they got you locked into an ambulance, you're not, yeah. Hey, what's going on here? Why you? No, you're full on. I said, you know, I don't know where you guys are about to take me, but my son is somewhere in the neighborhood. We have to, it's all right. What's he look like? I said, he looks like every other kid on campus. We'll find him. I can't protest. So now we're in the ambulance, and the guy, the emergency worker, is trying to see if I have damage in my brain. And this was right after the evacuation from Afghanistan. And he says to me, what do you think about that Afghanistan deal? And I'm thinking, Well, this is an unusual question under the circumstances, and then I realized it was a brain check. So I gave him my thoughtful piece on Afghanistan, which amounted to nothing essentially. And we're now driving around looking for my son in an ambulance with the lights flashing. And the next thing I know, the back doors open up and Harry gets in the ambulance. And I thought, oh, I said, Harry, I am so sorry. That's all right. I said, well, how did you get here? Well, the guy said, is your name Harry? And I said, yeah. And they said, well, we got your dad in the back. And I said, what happened? And the guy says, well, he hit his head. And I said, oh, he'll be all right. So now he and I go to the emergency room together. And the first thing I say to Harry is, don't tell your mother. Okay, I won't tell her. So we go to the emergency at the Rhode Island hospital, and it's crowded. And they get us, and they take care of us, and they clean me up, and they scanned my brain, and then they gave me an X-ray, and other guy flossed my teeth.
Wow.
Yeah.
Full service.
Oh, for white glove treatment, and so everything's fine. Oh, and then they stitched me up. 180 stitches right in
180?
here. 180 stitches.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we're in there for like 2 hours, and now I put my clothes back on, and I'm sopped in blood. So we got to go home now.
Wait, you had to take off all your clothes?
I don't know if you had to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we got to go home now. So I don't want anybody to see me in a blood-soaked outfit. So I put my clothes on backward. And so the blood's all in the back now. And I said, Harry, when we get home, don't tell your mother what happened. So we get out of the car, we walk into the house, and Harry says, Mom, Dad fell and hit his head and had to go to the hospital. Bang, zoom.
Sure.
Yeah, so that was the story. And concussion, I'm certain there was a concussion, but no fractures of the skull, no cognitive, although for a long time, and this is the truth, I couldn't remember the name of Eric Clapton.
Why did you have to?
Well, I just couldn't. I kept thinking, Layla, Layla, and I couldn't remember Eric Clapton's name. So that's how I self-diagnosed the concussion.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's my story, and thank you to the folks at the Rhode Island Hospital Emergency Ward, because they were quite busy and had other things to do besides treat the likes of me.
It's a pretty good birthday story.
It's a great story, and it's a story that Harry and I will have forever. And it was, I'm telling you, it was, I know it doesn't sound that way, but it was nothing but fun.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound like fun.
And next week, I understand Mr. Beast will be on your show.
Oh, really?
So we'll be happy to see that.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, nice having you.
Thank you very much.
Letterman, the Letterman YouTube channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Number 2 on my list, happy 81st birthday to controversial Major League Baseball record breaker Pete Rose, who was born on Monday, April 14th, 1941 in Cincinnati, Ohio. Pete Rose is the all-time Major League Baseball leader in hits at 4,256, games played at 3,562, at-bats at 14,053, singles 3,215, and outs 10,328. And speaking of outs, in August 1989, his last year as a manager, and 3 years after he retired as a player, Rose was penalized with permanent ineligibility while he's alive for Major League Baseball amidst accusations that he bet on baseball games while he played for and managed the Reds. In 1991, the Baseball Hall of Fame voted to ban those on the permanently ineligible list from induction, after previously excluding such players by informal agreement among voters. After years of public denial, Pete Rose admitted in 2004 that he bet on baseball and on the Reds. The issue of Rose's possible reinstatement and election to the Hall of Fame remains contentious, despite the fact that Major League Baseball now publicly endorses and is partnered with organized gambling corporations like DraftKings. DraftKings is now a co-exclusive official sports betting partner of MLB. joining BetMGM. As part of the expanded relationship, DraftKings remains the exclusive official daily fantasy sports partner of Major League Baseball. Oh, how times have changed. I said that. Now, the reaction was mostly positive, agreeing that he's paid his dues, let him in, but some played the devil's advocate, which I like. Hunter Fox, that's a cool name, isn't it? He said, there's a difference between a fan betting on the Reds and the manager of the team. Oh, fair point. Jeff Logan, who is my friend, full disclosure, said, you or me betting on baseball can't influence the game. When Rose did it, he could theoretically influence the game to align with his bets. That's why he was banned. But I believe he'll get in, but probably after he's dead. But he isn't locked out of the hall completely. They have plenty of his memorabilia and records there, just not the plaque. My response was, there's no evidence that Rose sabotaged his team for personal gain. Then Jeff retorted, that's because MLB's and Rose's mutual agreement on the ban, the only one of its kind, stated that MLB, the Major League Baseball organization, would not release a formal finding of guilt or innocence. John Dowd made the investigation and believes that Rose did bet against his own team. And Rose has stated that everything in the Dowd report was the complete, unadulterated truth, quote unquote. And then I replied, well, then it's immaterial and inconclusive, at least publicly. Pete Rose paid the price for his alleged misdeeds long ago, and I think he deserves to be inducted while he's still alive for his accomplishments, outstanding accomplishments, that is, and records as a player. And personally, I think it's wrong for MLB to officially partner with DraftKings because it sends a bad message to Little League players. I have nothing against organized gambling since it's a matter of personal choice, and I gamble. But for the league to endorse it, that's pretty bad in my opinion. And then Steven, I don't want to mention his last name. I can't even pronounce it, but he said no responsibility, no remorse. So I gather that's an affirmation that Pete Rose should be banned until he's dead. That seems harsh to me, considering his greatness on the diamond. What say you? What do you think about the Pete Rose thing? Anyway, moving on to another birthday. Michael Anthony Hall turned 54. He was born on April 14th, 1968 in Boston, Massachusetts. Michael Anthony Hall began his movie career in the Kenny Rogers starring comedy titled Six Pack 40 years ago back in 1982. But he gained fame as the original Rusty Griswold in National Lampoon's Vacation, released July 29th, 1983. That's July 29th, 1983. I can't talk. Michael Anthony Hall played a geek in 16 Candles, from May the 4th be with you, 1984, which was his first of the three John Hughes Brat Pack movies of the 1980s. Actually, it wasn't, because National Lampoon's Vacation is a John Hughes movie. But he also was in The Breakfast Club and Weird Science. Weird Science was released on August 2nd, 1985. And he chose to star in Weird Science instead of the National Lampoon's sequel to Vacation titled National Lampoon's European Vacation. So he chose to be in Weird Science instead. Also in 1985, Michael Anthony Hall joined the cast of Saturday Night Live on NBC for one season. And during his season, his castmates included Robert Downey Jr., Joan Cusack, Dennis Miller, Randy Quaid, John Lovitz, Terry Sweeney, Denitra Vance, who was Saturday Night Live's first female black cast member, and Nora Dunn. And Damon Wayans Jr. was a featured player that season. Audiences loved Michael Anthony Hall as Bill Gates in Pirates of Silicon Valley and as Johnny Smith in The Dead Zone by Stephen King. Recently, Michael Anthony Hall acted in the latest Michael Myers slash fest titled Halloween Kills, which was released on October 15th, 2021 in the United States of America. The movie cost $20 million to make, but it made a whopping $137.1 million. So that's over $117 million in profits. Also, Michael Anthony Hall competed for charity in Celebrity Wheel of Fortune on ABC recently. Chuck Adams commented on my post in the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group. that Michael Anthony Hall beat out Jim Carrey for the role of Farmer Ted in 16 Candles back in 1984. I didn't know that. Now I want to play a clip from Weekend Update of Michael Anthony Hall with his buddy, the great and very wealthy Robert Downey Jr. from Saturday Night Live. Let's see if this will go.
Now, here to review William F. Buckley's latest opus, Hijinks.
This is 3 minutes long.
Literary correspondents Robert Downey and Michael Hall. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you very much. For openers, I must say that I was a bit confused, and I don't want to say that I didn't enjoy Mr. Buckley's book, but it did seem to have a certain quality to it that kind of detracted from the brilliant.
Robert Downey
prose.
Jr. speaking.
Well, you know, I can't agree with Bobby completely here. Excuse me. For one thing, I want to say that Mr. Buckley's previous book, which was, of course, had a much, much deeper, let's say his last book, which was, of course...
Well, here I have to beg to differ with you here, because I feel that to which you obviously refer, that simply represents a dramatic synthesis of the...
You know, Buckley has a style, Bobby, that style of work that can really only be compared, when we're speaking truly about it, to the beautiful works of someone like.
Oh, Mike, you're totally missing the point, which is, of course.
Well, Robert, I think you're being too easy on his.
Well, Michael, ladies and gentlemen, as they say, one man's is another man's poisson.
Finally, tonight we did agree that.
And overall, we feel that Buckley's and one of the greatest, and we're both looking forward to future works of William F.
Back to you, Dennis. Excuse me. By the way, Miller?
Yeah.
So what are you saying, Romulus and Remus? Is it worth $16.95 or what?
We didn't read the book, Dennis.
You didn't read the book?
No, actually, we just thought this would be a really good time for us to come out here and be extra sophomoric.
Yeah,
You know
and
what I'm saying?
I think we proved our point, Mr. Political Analyst. Let's go.
Thank you, Bob, Mickey. You know, hard to believe, but I think the boys wrote that themselves.
Now, I love it. That's great. Oh, God, I got to talk over this. Talk over that. That's what it get me. Anyway, thanks to NBC for the use of that clip. Happy birthday to Michael Anthony Hall. He's a big guy now. Very, very ominous looking. Now, next on the list, this is a heavenly birthday to someone very, very special. To a lot of folks in television land that love classic television, this will give you a clue as to who I'm talking about. Happy heavenly birthday to Elizabeth Montgomery. I'm going to play another quick clip. That was the season 2 opening you never hear anymore with the original sound effects. Because I mentioned earlier in the show that when they were released on DVD by Sony, they just used the season 1 version for seasons 1 through 5. And then when Dick York was replaced by Dick Sargent, I'm getting ahead of myself. They did play that original theme for season 6 through 8 on DVD, but 1 through 5 is just a season 1 version, so that is somewhat rare. I want to play the season 3 version with Chevrolet sponsorship real quick of Bewitched, and then we'll talk about the great Elizabeth Montgomery. Here it is. Oh, this has not been my night, folks. Here it is. Doing this alone is not easy. Excuse me. There it is. Here's the original sponsor, Chevrolet.
Chevrolet presents
Check this out. This is cool.
Chevrolet Impala for '67, now at your Chevrolet dealer.
How about that? Impala, 1967. Happy heavenly birthday to a lady best known for playing a witch on ABC TV on Thursday nights for 8 television seasons. Actress Elizabeth Montgomery was born on Saturday, April 15th, 1933 in Los Angeles, California. The daughter of actor-director Robert Montgomery in terms of show business, Elizabeth had a flourishing acting career of her own that spanned 5 decades, starting in the 1950s with a role on her father's television series titled Robert Montgomery Presents, and on stage on Broadway in 1956 with her debut in the play titled Late Love. Other notable television roles for Elizabeth Montgomery in her early years included The Untouchables in the 1960 explosive season 2 premiere titled The Rusty Heller Story, in which she was nominated for an Emmy Award. Basically, she played a lady of the evening, if you will, and also in that episode was David White, who went on to play Larry Tate, Darren's boss, in Bewitched. That was a very violent episode, and she was gorgeous in it. I don't want to give it away, but it's the season 2 premiere of The Untouchables, The Rusty Heller Story, if you ever want to see it. And she also was in The Twilight Zone, opposite Charles Bronson in 1961, in the 3rd season episode of the original Twilight Zone series titled Two. TWO 2. She also was in Rawhide in 1963, acting alongside Clint Eastwood, opposite him. In the summer of 1964, regular series production began on Bewitched. 254 half-hour episodes of Bewitched, or Bewitched, however you want to say it, were ultimately filmed, which aired on ABC from Thursday, September 17th, 1964 at 9 p.m. until Saturday, July 1st, 1972 at 8 p.m. Throughout this hefty network run, Elizabeth was nominated for several Emmy Awards for her performance as Samantha Stevens, the Friendly Witch. 3 actors portrayed Samantha's mortal husband, Darren Stevens, on Bewitched, which included both Dicks, Dick York in seasons 1 through 5 and Dick Sargent in seasons 6 through 8, as well as former child acting star and musician Billy Mooney, as he was known in those days, in a season 2 episode titled Junior Executive, in which troublemaker Endora, Samantha's mom, of course, played by Agnes Moorehead, transforms Darren into a kid again. And he doesn't know it. He's working on an ad campaign. He's an advertising executive with an ad agency, and McMahon and Tate is the name of the agency that he works for. And Endora turns him into a child to see what he looked like. And so Bill Mooney is the other actor to play Darren Stevens. That's just a fact. The first 2 seasons of the magical comedy were filmed in black and white, but were restored through computers in the year 2000 by colorization. And booze, alcohol, was featured in almost every episode of Bewitched, as ad agency executive Darren and his boss Larry Tate, played by David White, as I mentioned, wined and dined their advertising clients as hijinks occurred. Eventually, the Stevens had 2 fictional children named Tabitha, which was spelled Tabatha, like to take a bath, Tabatha, and then they changed it for some reason in season 3 to Tabitha with an I, Tabitha, in season 3. And I don't know if that's because of merchandising. There was a deal for the Tabitha doll, but in the first episode where she's born, the character's born, the baby of Tabitha, it says at the end, introducing Tabitha, and the spelling is right there in the end credits with an A. And let's see. So her first episode, Tabitha, aired on Thursday, January 13th, 1966. And then her brother was born, Adam, in the 6th year. And that was the first season with Dick Sargent as Darren Stevens. And that aired on Thursday, October 16th, 1969 on that telecast. And fraternal twins Aaron and Diane Murphy played the daughter Tabitha. At first, before producers noticed that Aaron Murphy looked most like Elizabeth Montgomery as she grew. They looked a lot alike when they were younger, and I read in several books that, as they aged, they looked different. As they do today, I've seen current pictures of them, and they definitely look different. And Aaron definitely she favors Elizabeth Montgomery greatly. Child actors David and Greg Lawrence portrayed Adam Stevens. Nosy neighbor Gladys Kravitz was played by Alice Pierce before she sadly died of cancer in March of 1966 at the end of season 2. Sandra Gould replaced Pierce as Gladys Kravitz in the 3rd year. There were other cast changes and additions as the popular show grew in popularity. Paul Lynde was Samantha's prankster Uncle Arthur in only 10 episodes. It seems like he was in more episodes of Bewitched than just 10, but it's true. He was in 10 episodes. But he also guest starred in a season 1 episode before the character was written of Uncle Arthur and Dora's brother, in a season 1 episode where he played a nervous driving instructor teaching Samantha how to drive a car. Actor Agnes Moorehead, of course, was in Dora, the annoying mom and troublemaker who never could get Darren's name right. Durwood, she liked to call him. That was the most popular mispronunciation of his first name. Soon after Bewitched ended, Agnes Moorehead unfortunately passed away on Tuesday, April 30th, 1974, of uterine cancer at the age of 73. After Bewitched ended, Elizabeth Montgomery continued her career with roles in numerous television films, including A Case of Rape in 1974 as Ellen Herod, and in The Legend of Lizzie Borden in 1975 as the title role. Both of these roles earned her additional Emmy Award nominations. She was nominated as her role as Samantha Stevens on Bewitched as well. Elizabeth Montgomery was married many times, starting with a gentleman named Frederick Gallatin, I'll say. Frederick Gallatin Camman for a year in 1954, and actor Gig Young, who was a big drinker in Hollywood, allegedly, from 1956 to 1963. Bewitched director William Asher was Elizabeth Montgomery's husband for a decade, from 1963 to 1973. And finally, she married longtime love actor Robert Foxworth in 1993, although they had been together for many years before that. And she remained married to Robert Foxworth until her death in 1995. Throughout her career, Elizabeth was much more than an intelligent sex symbol, as she touched the lives of many with her charitable work. Such was her popularity that after she succumbed to cancer at the age of 62 on Thursday, May 18th, 1995, a bronze statue of her famous character Samantha Stevens from the TV series Bewitched was erected in Massachusetts. The great Elizabeth Montgomery had 3 children with William Asher, named Rebecca, Bill, and Robert. I do have a clip of Elizabeth Montgomery because she meant so much to so many, and her popularity survives to this day, even though she's been gone since 1995. This is interesting. All right, I got to cue this up. This is Elizabeth with Robert Foxworth on the Dennis Miller Show from 1992. But before that, in 1966, Elizabeth Montgomery hosted the Hollywood Palace, a very popular show. And what was interesting was that there were lyrics to the Bewitched theme song that I played at the very beginning of tonight's Podblast and just now. And I want to play for you now what that sounded like, the lyrics. It's pretty hokey, but just for historical significance and for educational purposes, I'll play it now. Get to that right fast, quick. The Hollywood Palace. And notice the announcer. The announcer will sound familiar. Right here.
And now, from the Hollywood Palace, here is your hostess, the lovely star of television's Bewitched, Elizabeth Montgomery!
Bewitched, bewitched, you've got me in your spell. Bewitched, bewitched, you know your craft so well. Before I knew what you were doing, I looked in your eyes. That brand of blue that you've been brewing took me by surprise. You witch, one thing is for sure, that stuff you pitch just hasn't got a cure. My heart was under lock and key, but somehow it got unhitched. I never thought my heart could be had, but now I'm caught and I'm kinda glad to be.
And we played more of that on the Nostalgic Podblast episode 9 way back when, where you hear some of her monologue there. But as you heard, they couldn't really use, even though it was on the same network, ABC, the sound effects of her twitching. It sounded different there, didn't it? Now here is Elizabeth Montgomery on the Dennis Miller Show from 1992 in a rare interview.
It just kind
And
of
let
takes
me
off from
just
there, and
sort of key on ahead
my God.
And he
to...
turned up in that Sam Peckinpah movie with Ally
No
McGraw,
doubt.
Steve McQueen, where
The one
Sally Struthers
everybody
was his
remembers,
wife, and she
yeah.
cuckolded him. They tied him in a chair, and she made
Ah, here we go.
love to Mexican
Let me get to I have a cue mark here.
It's over there, baby.
Where they're talking about Bewitched.
Oh, man, you can't do it.
All right.
He's one of those guys who screams at an inopportune moment. He's like the guy who holds up the John 3:16. Oh.
I want to apologize, folks. I'm a perfectionist, and I made a lot of tongue-tied mistakes tonight. I'm very low on sleep. Today was a very busy day, and I had some technical problems. I had to restart this Podblast, which I never do. I usually just go right through it, but this is the third take. So after one full hour, I had to restart from the beginning. So anyway, I just want to apologize to you, the listener, for my mistakes. Anyway, let's continue.
Wiggle your nose for him, a little Sam. Oh, man, you can't do that nowadays in Hollywood. Everybody thinks you have a problem. Back then, it was okay. It must have been a grind holding up a series, though, for...
No, it wasn't. It was terrific.
No, really?
No, I loved it. I really loved it. It was fun.
Yeah, but people always tell me it's almost debilitating to do a weekly series. You never get run down?
I didn't think so. I didn't think so. I guess I got a lot of energy, so, you know. But I enjoyed it. I really did. I learned a lot, too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Must have been an elevated sense of learning there, because you that was your first thing, wasn't it?
That was the first, kind of series that I'd done, certainly.
Earn as you learn.
Yeah, thank you. It's a good way to do it.
Now, did you get tired out at Falcon Crest keeping up with all Lorenzo Lamas' marriages?
Yes, I did. Yes.
So did he.
I just remember every week I'd turn around, he was marrying somebody.
That's true.
Well, how long did that show run now?
Well, it was on 8 years. I was on it 6 years. I couldn't last out the last 2 years, so I took off. They drowned me or something.
Oh, yeah? It's always amazing. They can still bring you back.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Like, even today, they could call you and go, hey, you were in an air bubble down there.
Either that or it's your twin or something.
Right, the evil twin.
Yeah.
Now, this wasn't the first time that you worked together on this. You actually worked together on a film in Africa, didn't you, years ago?
Yeah, for Hallmark called Face to Face. What an experience. Have you ever been there?
No, but I just saw Out of Africa 3 nights ago. I rented it again, and it's just, I always look and I think, I'm so busy pursuing the carrot, I'm missing the world.
Yeah,
I mean,
really.
I wish I could get down there. Was it
Kenya
You
is
really
an experience that you have to have.
I'm afraid you're going to have to get there pretty quick, though.
Yeah, it's starting to fall.
Yeah. I mean, everybody says, oh, you must go, it's like Eden, and you say, yeah, sure. But once you get there, you really understand what they're talking about. It's extraordinary. I mean, it's just the most amazingly magical place. It's super.
Well, what's falling apart about it besides, I mean, I know
The
AIDS
large
is right
game,
there,
the large
but I mean,
wildlife
how does
is
that...
disappearing.
Yeah, it is.
The large wildlife is disappearing, and of course, politically, Kenya right now is a little shaky. But the main thing is the wildlife. It's the poachers are just decimating it, and it's really a pity.
I thought after that one A&E special that they really cracked down on that ivory poaching. No, I mean, A&E did an ad saying that they ran a special on ivory poaching, and now it's now.
Well,
it's still,
the ivory, they went out and what do they do? Burn tons of it, I think, but that hasn't stopped anybody from going out and trying to get more tons of it, which is really too bad.
Now, you guys have been together for 20 years, but when you work together... Yeah. Didn't I hear that?
It just seems like a couple of days.
It's not that long.
No, well, I chronicle your life, and you have. I'm the Pliny the Elder of this relationship. I keep everything marked down. I can't believe Fox first laughing at the Pliny the Elder reference. Okay. But how do you get along when you work? Do you get cranky with each other?
It's impossible. I mean, it's almost the end of our relationship every time we work together.
No, is it really?
No.
No, it's great.
You did that play love letters together, didn't you?
Yeah,
I think I'm the only person in
You don't have to
LA.
look at each other when you do that, so it's cool.
No?
You can do it with anybody. No, you wouldn't know who was there. No, oh, sorry. Trouble now. It's over, see? You're witnessing this whole thing.
I think I'm supposed to do it next week with Hume Cronin. I'm really apprehensive about it because I know you works from within, and I like to work off a little physical thing. Okay, sorry. All right, well, the film, it's a made-for-TV movie. It's called With Murder in Mind. Really good. We should watch it.
Yeah.
I
We should
hope
check
so.
it out.
I haven't seen it. He has.
I saw it today.
I want to
1992. One other quick clip of Elizabeth Montgomery. This is very rare. The audio's kind of janky in this. This is with John Tesh, of all people. But it's a pretty cool, rare interview. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. Let's just listen to a little bit of it. Because she talks about Bewitched. Bewitched. You say Bewitched, I say Bewitched, whatever. But the audio is pretty sketchy.
We've done so much great dramatic work, but there is, of course, a role that is burned in everybody's minds, especially mine, because it was one of my favorite shows, which was Bewitched, a great comedy, and really it has endured. What was the appeal?
I think we made it as honest as possible. I think the writers that we used were as good as possible. The cast was extraordinary. I mean, my gosh, what a cast we had. I mean, really super, super people. Morris Evans, Agnes Moorehead, golly, Marion Lorne, Paul Lind. And I was never bored on the set. Not 1 minute for 8 years was I bored. Does that sound so disgustingly Pollyanna you can hardly stand it?
No, it
Because
doesn't.
it's not. It was like going to college for 8 years and taking an in-depth course in what you really wanted to do. So it was very, very exciting for me. I mean, I learned a lot of stuff. A lot.
Do you get upset when people ask you to do the nose thing?
No, not really. It's just so crazy. But I'm not going to do it for you, so there. The thing is, if I'm tired, if I've had one glass of wine, or if I'm inclined to get the giggles, there is no way to do it. Now, you can figure out which one is my excuse now. I mean, obviously I haven't had a glass of wine. I'm not tired yet. And, I mean, sitting here doing it, it's just very hard if it doesn't come out of something.
You were working very hard on a series, Bewitched, at the time you had some youngsters. Is that a difficult thing to be, full-time mom and also work so hard?
Yes, it is. And as a result, I will never win any Mother of the Year awards. I hope I'm getting better. And, everybody, I think, parents and kids have to grow up together. I mean, nobody really can ready you for motherhood, whether you work or whether you don't. I mean, parenting is probably the toughest job anybody's ever had, and I haven't been very good at it, but like I say, I think I've gotten better.
Did you learn anything from your parents about how to bring up your kids?
I learned some things how to and some things how not, I think. But that, they did the best they could, too. I mean, I think parents do that.
Your dad was a celebrated actor and director. Did you ever realize when you were growing up who he really was?
I never realized that that's who or what he was until, gosh, I don't know. I think somebody in school told me. It was kind of like finding out there was no Santa Claus, I guess. It was like, did you know? And I went, no. It never occurred to me that he was doing something odd or wonderful or not so wonderful.
Were you proud of him?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because I never saw a lot of the movies that he did, and because growing up, everybody felt that there were better things to do than go to the movies. I never quite understood that because everybody I knew went. And so I kind of caught up with a lot of the stuff that he did after I grew up, which in a way was kind of fun.
How do you think he felt? Did you know immediately how
Robert
he felt
Montgomery,
about
her
this
dad.
little girl deciding to become an actress?
Yeah, he told me. He said, if that's what you want to do, you're going to really want to have to do it, because there's no room out there for some gutless wonder wandering around. You know, there are too many talented people. And he said it is one of the most horrifyingly ego-blasting, destructive, awful businesses that you could possibly get into. And he said, I wouldn't really wish it on anybody I care even a little bit about. So, knowing that he cared more than just a little bit about me, I thought, whoops, you know, this is really a tough one. However, after that conversation, he did say to me that when it is rewarding, and when it is good, it is such a high, you cannot imagine it. And he's right.
Do you remember your first professional acting job?
Yeah, it was a job that had been promised me by Dad, actually, and we played father and daughter, and my first line to him was, "Hi, Pop," as he walked in the door. And I said, "Hi, Pop," and he went, and I said, "Oh, well, did you come in to ask me about so-and-so?" And I said, "Well, you must have, because," and he said, "Yeah, that's right." And what had happened, evidently, I found out later, he said, we'd rehearsed all week and never thought anything about it, and here we were on the air, and she turned around and said, "Hi, Pop," and I looked at her and said, "Jesus Christ, it's Liz."
Oh, wow.
And he suddenly realized who it was he was working with, and it was his daughter, right? And he said, I couldn't think of anything except, my God, I had no idea that it was going to be this terrifying. And I was too stupid to be scared.
Was it ever tough being Robert Montgomery's daughter?
Yeah, absolutely. A name will open doors. You know, you just got to face up to the fact every once in a while that your parent, the one that happened to be the actor, was not necessarily adored all the time. And so there were people that didn't like him. And as a result, there were people that decided they didn't like me just because. And those are things you kind of have to cope with. And that's a little tough, but you get used to it, I guess.
Now, Elizabeth Montgomery's mother, someone commented to me, why didn't you mention her mother? Well, Elizabeth's mother was Elizabeth Bryan, Bryan Allen, Allen. And she was born on December 26th, 1904 in Louisville, Kentucky. She passed away on June 28th, 1992 in Paterson, New York. And Elizabeth had two siblings, Robert Montgomery Jr. and Martha Bryan Montgomery. So, and she was an actress. Elizabeth Bryan Allen was an actress as well in the business. So, didn't mean to slight Elizabeth Montgomery's mom. There you have it. So rest in peace to the great Elizabeth Montgomery. Let me see if there's anything else. Nope. Okay. So now, number 5 on my list, and I don't want to turn this into the biography channel. I want this to be fun and educational, but, it's turning into sort of the birthday show, biography show. So I can't feature everyone, and I want to have some for next year on these dates to cover, but I am going to cover this gentleman. Happy heavenly birthday to music composer Henry Mancini, who hit the scene on Wednesday, April 16th, 1924 in Little Italy, the Little Italy portion of Cincinnati, Ohio. He's been gone since Tuesday, June 14th, 1994. I'm going to play just a few quick tracks of things that he scored. And these are different orchestrations by amateurs and some professional artists, because I can't really play the original versions for obvious reasons. Let's see. And then I am going to play a clip from The Lost City. I meant to play some scenes from that movie starring Sandra Bullock and Brad Pitt, and really Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock, and Daniel Radcliffe. But let me play for you now. I've played this before. I'm going to play it again. This is the theme to the NBC mystery movie. By Henry Mancini.
starring Peter Falk as Columbo.
Yeah, Columbo. I'm really digging watching these for the very first time. It's such a good show. Now I see what my folks saw in it and everybody else. Now here, of course, is the Peter Gunn theme. I say of course, but when you hear this music, and this is an awesome guitar version.
Flap, flap!
Awesome rock tribute. Oh, I love that. So that was by the first time I heard the Peter Gunn theme was in 16 Candles. We're talking about Michael Anthony Hall earlier. They used that theme in that film. That was before I was even aware of the TV show when I was a kid. So that was by Mark O'Milio. Well done. Now here's one other piece of music. The last piece I'll play, and it's the Pink Panther theme, a rock cover of Henry Mancini's Pink Panther theme. That's Davis Henry, the Davis Henry YouTube channel covering the great Henry Mancini's The Pink Panther theme. That's probably his most well-known bit of music besides Moon River. Golly, I am all messed up tonight. Moon River. And I got some comments, too, from Kim Blackburn. She commented that, yes, I'm sober, folks. Moon River may be my all-time favorite song by Henry Mancini. Number 6, Chaplin. More like Craplin. That's a quote from David Spade on Saturday Night Live talking about the movie starring Robert Downey Jr., Chaplin. And he did this bit back in the early 90s on Saturday Night Live called the Hollywood Minute. And, man, it was funny. And the real Charlie Chaplin was born on Tuesday, April 16th, 1889 in London, England. He passed away in Switzerland on Christmas Day, December 25th, 1977, which was a Sunday, at the age of 88. Let me see if I can play a little bit of that Hollywood Minute from David Spade. It's funny stuff. I used to love, man, that era of Saturday Night Live when I was in college. I loved it. It was fantastic. Good writing. Chris Rock. You just had, Adam Sandler, Chris Farley. So many talents. Phil Hartman. My goodness, the ill-fated Phil Hartman. Let me play some of this. The Hollywood Minute. And this is when Kevin Nealon was in the anchor chair.
Here with a look now, back on 1992, is David Spade with the Hollywood Minute. David?
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, I haven't seen you for a while, so let's catch up. Michael Jackson, I read this week, wanted to hire a white kid to play himself as a child in a new commercial. When I heard this, 2 words came to mind. Cuckoo. It's called reality. Look into it. I saw that new Charlie perfume commercial where Cindy Crawford sings. Yikes. And they call it tone deaf. How can you do this? Cindy, what was going through your mall? Like that one? All right. All the people that will still be around next year, take one step forward. Not so fast, Arsenio.
Oh, man.
And, of course, Madonna. Wait, she's on the show tonight. Okay, nice girl. Good album. Next. Hey, I'll say I pity the fool for $20. Okay, 15. Hi, I'm a 10. Is there a problem? Hi there.
Fabio.
My fame is at 14 minutes and counting.
Mr.
Okay,
T.
$10. Find a lover. Help me out. And in movie news, last night I went to catch X. All I caught was Z's.
Malcolm X.
3.5 hours. It's called an editor.
A Spike Lee joint. Yeah, we talked about that in our tribute to 3-hour movies.
Little leprechaun. Well, my little Irish friend,
Jennifer
while
Aniston.
You're in America, don't bother going out to dinner because you're already eating it at the box office.
Now, it was 2 years before Friends would debut on NBC. And Jennifer Aniston has never looked back. But she was in Leprechaun.
Chaplin. More like Craplin.
I love that line.
Hi, my 3-year-old nephew wrote that. And I also sat through The Bodyguard. And I want my money back. That's a Hollywood Minute. Back to you.
I like that little skit he would do a little bit. Hollywood Minute. So, next on the list, this guy. This was a character here. I think this is the very first commercial that this child actor did. And he's still in the business. He's had a bit of a comeback lately. Remember this character?
This is Messy Marvin. His room is a mess. His clothes are a mess. The only time he doesn't make a mess is when he makes his chocolate milk. He uses good old-fashioned Hershey syrup in the brand new squeeze bottle. Rich, delicious chocolate flavor that only Hershey can deliver without making a mess.
Delicious. Marvin?
Good old Hershey syrup in a no-mess bottle.
Can you believe that kid is 51 now? Happy 51st birthday to that little guy you saw in that series of TV commercials for Hershey's chocolate syrup as Messy Marvin, the character he played. That was from 1979, that clip. I think that was the very first one. And then, of course, he was in the 1983 holiday classic A Christmas Story, among many other things. Peter Billingsley is that actor's name, and he was a frequent guest on the Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. Billingsley was born on Friday, April 16, 1971, in New York, New York. Billingsley's first acting role was at the age of 2 in a Geritol commercial with actress of the stage and television Betty Buckley. She was in the movie Carrie, one of the teachers in the gym, the first big movie by Stephen King based on one of his books, and she was in the television show 8 is Enough we talked about not too long ago for the 45th anniversary of the debut of that show. And Betty Buckley played Abby. And she played his mother in that Geritol commercial. In recent years, the Marvel Comics universe, or MCU universe of films, revived his acting career, casting Peter Billingsley in Iron Man in 2008. He was the guy that got screamed at, Tony Stark could build this in a cave! You know, he played a scientist. And then they used the same actor, same character in 2019 in Spider-Man Far From Home as a character that he reprised named William Ginter Riva, who was a scientist and a technical wizard. Happy heavenly birthday to a man who would have been 75 years of age had he lived, just like David Letterman is today, Gerry Rafferty. He would have been 75, being born in Paisley, Scotland on Wednesday, April 16th, 1947. When he was in the band Steelers, not like the Pittsburgh Steelers, but like stealing, theft, Stealers, Steelers Wheel, with his school buddy Joe Egan, Gerry Rafferty scored a hit song with Stuck in the Middle with You, which I think sounds kind of like Dylan. And that hit was released in 1972. After he left the band Steelers Wheel in 1975, Gerry Rafferty's solo hits included Baker Street, Home and Dry, and Right Down the Line, all in 1978. Gerry Rafferty unfortunately died at the age of 63 on Tuesday, January 4th, 2001. Now I'm going to play a version of Baker Street from 1978 for you now. Let's have a little music interlude as we start to wind down this edition of the Nostalgic Podblast. Let's see. And I still want to play that clip from, which I meant to do earlier, The Lost City. I messed up. Let's see here. Gerry Rafferty.
Baker Street.
See, it's a little different than what you're used to, as you can hear.
used to say that it was so easy, but you're trying now. Another year and then you'd be happy. Just one more year and then you'd be happy. But you're crying now. Way down the street there's a light in his place. He opens the door, he's got that look on his face, and he asks you where you've been. You tell him who you've seen, and you talk about anything. He's got this dream about buying some land. He's gonna give up the booze and the one-night stands, and then he'll settle down in some quiet little town and forget about everything. But you know he'll always keep moving. You know he's never gonna stop moving, 'cause he's rolling, he's the rolling stone. And when you wake up it's a new morning. The sun is shining, it's a new morning. And you're going home.
Always like that. It's very chill. Very chill indeed. Gerry Rafferty, rest in peace. I liked his music. He's underrated. So next up, I've seen this guy on set in person. Before Medea, it was Big Mama. Actor and comedian Martin Lawrence turned 57 on April 16th. He was born in 1965 in Frankfurt, West Germany. And Martin Lawrence got his first big break on television playing character Maurice Warfield in the syndicated sitcom What's Happening Now from 1987 to 1988, the revival of the popular ABC sitcom What's Happening. The popular long-running Fox Network sitcom titled Martin really put Lawrence on the map, of course, in the 1990s and the early 90s. And an infamous Saturday Night Live hosting gig in 1993 got Martin in a bit of hot water, where he's talking about the dough on your lip. I shouldn't go into specifics. It's a holy day. I need to watch it. But he made a joke about basically yeast infection. It was live, and the East Coast heard it. And he got in hot water, but ultimately that faux pas just made him stronger. Martin Lawrence had hit movies like the Bad Boys series and the Big Mama's House trilogy, which followed. I can play a clip of him in Big Mama's House. All right, let me just tell you this. Not going to make this about me, but it was just an experience I had working as an extra on Big Mama's House 3. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we shot a really cool scene in downtown Atlanta at Centennial Olympic Park. And I got to do this zany dance, and the director was putting the camera right on me. And then, you know what? He redid it in the end credits with the real actors simulating some of my dance moves. I swear, I kid you not. I don't have a persecution complex. It's absolutely true. And I have several people I still know like Alicia for one, and some of me made the cut in the movie, but the director was cracking up, telling me to do it again, another take, and then what did they do? They edited it and just redid it during the end credits. Anyway, I like the Big Mamas movies, especially the first one. I thought it had a lot of heart. But everyone knows that Flip Wilson was really the first mainstream performer of color to do comedy in drag for his 1970 fourth stand-up comedy record album titled The Devil Made Me Buy This Dress. The character Geraldine Jones was first introduced by name on Labor Day on Monday, September 1st, 1969 in a television special put together by Flip Wilson, his manager Kay, and NBC executives. The show was called The Flip Wilson Special, and its success led to Flip Wilson's variety show called The Flip Wilson Show, first broadcast on Tuesday, September 22nd, 1970. So I'm going to play a very brief clip of Martin Lawrence in a scene from Big Mama's house. And this one isn't very long. Let me just, yeah, here it is. This is from the sequel, the second sequel, Big Mama's house, like father, like son, like father, like son. And here's a Martin Lawrence interview talking about that movie and some scenes.
Pull over now! Come here!
The FBI's top agent.
Son, what are you doing here?
And this is the one that was shot in Atlanta.
That means he's gonna kill me?
Is going back undercover.
They also shot at Agnes Scott College and University, which is a women's college in the Atlanta, Georgia suburbs.
How you gonna have a swag big as this?
But this time, he's got backup.
Law. You're a difficult child, Charmaine Daisy Pierce. Oh, my great niece. And you better start sounding like it before you scare someone. How's this? Swing low, swing.
There seems like a real tradition in comedy, going all the way back to Some Like It Hot, and you know, you can look at Bosom Buddies, and you know, all the greats, Tom Hanks, Robin Williams, everyone, yourself, great comedians dress in drag. What is that? Can you explain what is so funny about seeing a guy dressed like a woman?
Well, I think it's because if a guy could pull it off and convince you, make you believe that they're a woman, I mean, you know, what more can you ask for? If they can pull it off, and you gotta, how can I say this? Because y'all gets very tricky with these questions, man. All right. I think if a guy can pull it off, you know what I mean, and make you believe that they're a woman, right? Mm-hmm. You understand? What am I saying, Sean? I don't know. No, I'm gonna do it this way. Ask that question again.
So tell me where the comedy comes from.
Okay.
In seeing a man dressed as a woman.
Where the comedy comes from, I don't know. I think it's playing the character. I think if the character is funny, and you, like you mentioned, Bosom Buddies and things like that, I think if you can play that character and make people believe that you're actually a woman, and you do it well, I think it's funny. It's humor in that. It's like, you play a woman really well. You know, it's just, and if the humor is there, if it's written funny, it's just funny.
And it's the character. It has to do with that character. People love Mama. It's not just seeing Martin dressed as a woman. It's Mama, right?
Couldn't say it better myself.
Yeah.
Man. Y'all getting what he said? Y'all got a camera on him?
We'll get that.
Oh, good. Y'all got a camera on him too. Good, because he just said it.
Is there anything that you've learned now? You played this role 3 times in films. Is there anything you've learned about womanhood or being a woman or anything that you've been able to apply in your life?
Just that women, you know, they sometimes the process that they go through to get ready, to get themselves together for us and take care of themselves, whatever, is a process, and it sometimes takes a lot. So it's not as easy, you know, like it might be easier for a man to get dressed than it is for a woman to get dressed, because a woman not only has to get dressed, but she has to do her makeup and do her hair and all that. Guys, we just brush our hair, throw on our jeans and shirt, and we out the door, you know? So it's more of a process for the woman.
More preparation.
Yeah.
You know, in the movie, the relationship between your character Malcolm and his son Trent reminded me a little bit of sort of the, you know, Cliff-Theo relationship from The Cosby Show.
Oh.
Education really is important to Malcolm. Can you talk about that theme in the movie?
Well, it is. Big Mama's not Big Mama, Malcolm's trying to to his son Trent that Trent wants to go off and be a rapper, and he's trying to explain to him, if you get your education, there's nothing you can't do. There's no rush to greatness. So take your time, get your education first, and if that's something you want to pursue in the future, do it then. But most important thing you should get is your education first.
Well said.
Brandon's great in the movie.
Very
Could you see him sort of taking the franchise on and sort of carrying on in Big Mama?
Well, you can't take the franchise, Big Mama.
I love Martin Lawrence, and I think he deserves a big comeback. I think he's great, and he was really nice on set to everybody, to everyone. So, just some other birthdays. I just want to mention some because I don't want to go on and on and turn this into the birthday show, as I said earlier. Brad Garrett, I think he's a really great comedian. Big, tall guy. I liked him as Jackie Gleason back in 2002 in the movie Gleason, which was a television movie. He did a fantastic job as Mr. Saturday Night Mr. Saturday Night, Jackie Gleason. Gosh. I'm not good tonight. I'm not good. Mr. Saturday Night, the great one, Jackie Gleason. Brad Garrett did a fantastic biopic. It was great. And Loretta Lynn had a birthday also recently on April 16th. They both were born on April 16th. I'll highlight them better next year. And then also on April 17th, Jennifer Garner. She was born in Houston, Texas in 1972. I'm not going to mention ages here. Victoria Beckham was born in 1974 in Essex, England. Everybody knows about her. Roddy Piper, who passed away July 31st, 2015, but he was born April 17th, 1954 in Canada. I really love They Live by John Carpenter. John Carpenter's They Live. That's a really, really cool movie. And then happy birthday in heaven to William Holden, born back in 1918 on April 17th in Illinois. He passed away on November 12th, 81. Oh, boy. I could go on and on and on, and I have, haven't I? Haven't I? Ad nauseum. Diarrhea of the mouth. That is I. So let's just put a fork in birthdays for this edition of the Nostalgic Podblast and move on to my fake rant of the week. Frito-Lay changed the formula or recipe, if you will, of their sour cream and onion potato chips. They don't taste the same. And I tried more than one bag. I thought maybe I got a rogue bag or a bad batch. Man, I hate it when they do that. Going back to changing the Coca-Cola formula. New Coke in 1984. Well, they've done it. Frito-Lay has effed up sour cream and onion potato chips. You need to see what I mean. But I don't want you to support these new chips to find out for yourself. Just trust me. They don't taste the same. Suddenly. Another rant. Know what I'm saying? Translation. Do you know what I mean? I can't stand it when someone says, know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? Again, I sound hostile. Know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know what you're saying. You mean know what I mean. And then the other thing I can't stand is driving turnarounds. I find that very confusing. You have to yield. I don't know what the point is. They say it's to ease traffic. I get it. But I can't stand driving turnarounds, and I wish they'd quit building them. Okay, I've calmed down. Ran over. Nostalgic word or expression of the week is pipsqueak. Enough said, because I am one. Nostalgic toy of the week. This is great. This is great. I posted this in the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group. Sea monkeys. Remember those comic book ads? They'd be next to the X-ray specs, the spectacles where you could see through clothing and see through flesh and see skeleton hands when you supposedly held up your hand to those specs, X-ray specs. But sea monkeys. That was a marketing term used to refer to brine shrimp that are sold as novelty aquarium pets, developed in the United States in 1957 by Harold von Braunhut. They were sold as eggs intended to be added to water, and almost always would come bundled in a kit of 3 pouches and instructions. Sometimes a small tank and or supplementary pouches may also be included with the product. The product was heavily marketed in the 1960s and 1970s, as I said, especially in comic books, and remains a presence in popular culture. Ant farms had been popularized in 1956 by Melton Levin. Harold von Braunhut invented brine shrimp, the brine shrimp-based product, the next year in 1957. He collaborated with a marine biologist, Dr. Anthony D. Agostino. I can't talk. I'm not good at this. Dr. Anthony D. Agostino to develop the proper mix of nutrients and chemicals in dry form that could be added to plain tap water to create an accommodating habitat for shrimp to thrive. Von Braunhut was granted a patent for the process on July 4th, 1972. They were initially called Instant Life and sold for 49 cents. But von Braunhut changed the name to Sea Monkeys in 1962. The new name was based on their saltwater habitat, together with the supposed resemblance to the animals' tails of those of monkeys. Sea monkeys were intensely marketed throughout the 1960s and 70s using illustrations by the comic book illustrator Joe Orlando. These showed humanoid animals that bear no resemblance to the crustaceans. Many purchasers were disappointed by the dissimilarity and by the short lifespan of the animals they bought. Van Braunhut is quoted as saying, "I think I bought something like 3.2 million pages of comic book advertising in a single year, and it worked out beautifully." Believe it or not, there were television ads for these sea monkeys, and I don't remember seeing any of them when I was growing up. I remember the comic book ads, of course, but let's listen to just 2 commercials for the sea monkeys. And then we'll wrap. I'm going to play those clips from Lost City, which is in theaters now. And I really wish they would add at Paramount Plus Love American Style. I talked about that last time. In case you missed it, that was a great anthology show. A lot of people think that's debatable. Was it really great? I mean, it was the pre-Love Boat, but it was a good anthology, hour long, except for season 2, and it was cut to half an hour. Then it was a hour long length again in seasons 3, 4, and 5. But they had some good guest stars. They revived the acting careers, at least temporarily, of a lot of very talented people. But let's play now a clip on television promoting the Sea Monkeys.
I say, Watson, old chap, what seems to be your problem?
It's showing a chimpanzee holding a magnifying glass.
Sea monkeys don't live in trees, my good man. They live in water. Why, it's elementary, my dear Watson. You just add sea monkey eggs to prepared water, and before your eyes you see them come to life. And when you feed them, they grow and grow. Now, Watson, my dear fellow, you see, it's no big mystery at all. Why, it's not only easy, it's fun. Brilliant deduction, eh, what?
Sea Monkeys, the amazing instant pets for the whole family.
So let's see. Here's one other this is a more recent ad for Sea Monkeys. Let me play this for you as a television ad.
The amazing live sea monkeys! Fill your tank with water. Add your eggs, feed your sea monkeys, and watch them grow, wiggle, and play! The amazing live instant pets. Sea monkeys, out now from Moose.
Little 15-second spot there. Let's see if we can play another one here.
There's something in here. Watch this.
Wash into water, you won't believe your eyes, make it come alive. Sea monkeys, sweet, we grow in waves. Sea monkeys, swim in the outer space. Sea monkeys, they're all over the place. We're wet and weird and wild, cause we make it come alive.
Sea Monkeys, real live fun. Each set sold separately comes with everything you see here.
We're alive!
Sea Monkeys. Yeah, tonight, towards the end of the show anyway, because I'm a little low on sleep, I really feel like a amateur stand-up comedian who's just dying out there. I really feel like I'm dying tonight. But about Sea Monkeys, I had some comments on the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group. Chuck Adams said, I had these in my biology chemistry set. They were actually described as dried brine shrimp eggs, which they were, that hatched after being put into salt water. Needed to have a microscope to really appreciate them. Mark Patterson said, I ordered them. Probably from a comic book. As it turns out, they were just brine shrimp. LOL. Yep. Vicky Walden said, this was the most magical thing. I would dream about them. Oh, the sweet bliss of childhood. Indeed, Vicky, innocence, in a word. Elizabeth Jinks said, I had some of these. What a hoax. So let's see, what else do we have here tonight? All right, I'm going to close now with a classic song. A lot of people dislike it. I like it. That's why I'm going to close tonight with this. And I hope you had a fantastic Easter. Oh, no. Before that, I must play some scenes from Lost City starring Channing Tatum, Sandra Bullock, and Brad Pitt. Let's listen. Since I screwed up and didn't play him earlier, let's listen to him now. And I recommend this movie. As I said earlier, it's really, really a fun movie.
You led
on
me
the big
straight
screen.
to the lost city. Now, prepare to die.
There are just hundreds of snakes in this temple just waiting for us to show up.
What? Why aren't they biting that guy?
This is ridiculous. Delete. Delete. Delete.
Listen, Loretta, we need you to promote your new book on the Lost City. You can't spend your life in the bathtub drinking Chardonnay with ice.
Ladies and gentlemen, the world's sexiest cover model, Dash McMahon!
You do know you're not Dash, right? Dash is a character I made up. Dash! Oh my god. Oh crap.
Miss Sage, I enjoyed your book about the Lost City, and I believe you're the one who can help me find its treasure.
I have to respectfully decline.
I'm afraid I must insist.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Unchain me!
That's a seatbelt.
Loretta Sage is missing.
I'm gonna rescue her. I just want her to think of me as more than a cover model.
Let's start living dangerously. Alan, what are you doing here?
We're here to save you. I'm certified CPR, I'm certified CrossFit. I have snacks.
After them!
This is like your book. We're on a Lovemore and Dash adventure right now. I'm gonna help you out a little bit. Let's go.
What are you doing? Don't do
Gotta
that.
go.
Oh
Come
god,
on.
get out of there. This is not a romance novel. Jungles eat people like us.
Ah, what is that? Get it off.
Just give me a
Please.
second.
I can
Just
feel him
stop speaking. Please
sucking
stop
my
speaking. Just
soul.
stop speaking.
Ripper like a bandit. Don't make that sound. Feels like there's more.
Holy mother of
more?
God.
It's just sucking on my butt like a big old Jamba Juice.
We're so close. I could actually find the lost city.
If I don't get to this island, my friend and her cover model are going to die.
I am driving. Oh.
Loretta Sage, getting you out of here.
Why are you
Brad
so
Pitt.
handsome?
My dad was a weatherman. Hey, whoa, she doesn't need saving in there.
Okay.
What are you doing in there?
Kind of a debate about whether trailers and previews give away too much. A lot of directors say they do because the studios have them edited without the director's permission. And I do think they give away a lot in many cases. In terms of the Marvel movies, I've read most of the comic books, so there's no surprises, at least for me. So I'll watch those trailers, but I try to avoid trailers these days. Again, now, if anyone knows Sandra Bullock, I would really appreciate, and I will do a finder's fee or something. I will take care of you if you could help me obtain a signature on what's on camera now. If you're listening to this audio only, this won't mean anything to you, but I have a picture of actors Lindsay Wagner, the Bionic Woman, Richard Anderson, who was Oscar Goldman, and Sandra Bullock, who was the Bionic Girl way back in 1989 before she was an A-list movie star. And that's the only signature I need is Sandra Bullock, and that's going to be very, very difficult to get unless she does a book tour or something like that, or it winds up at San Diego Comic-Con to promote a big movie that she's in. Anyway, I do appreciate you listening to the Nostalgic Podblast as always. Next time will be better. Will be our 100th show, and I'm going to make sure I'm rested and I'm on my A game. Maybe I wasn't as bad as I think, but a couple times I really was not very good tonight. So I'm sorry. I hope the clips and the information made up for it. I think I went on a little bit long with the $6 Million Man story, acting like it's some big exclusive deal, which it was, but my God, it's stock footage. But it's an iconic opening, the $6 Million Man, to people in Generation X like myself. It means a lot. If you're a boomer or something, it probably, or younger than that, if you're a millennial, probably doesn't mean anything to you. And one more thing about Sandra Bullock, she reminds me of my friend Kate, who's been on the Podblast. She's called in, and we did a little video together, a Podblast about her. She's younger than I, but what's nostalgic to her in terms of the late 1990s and stuff. It was hilarious. But Sandra Bullock reminds me of her, the way she talks, like their voices are similar, and her sense of humor. So anyway, a little shout out to my friend Kate. I'm going to play just a couple seconds while I have a little bit more time of Stars on 45, the Beatles medley. Let me see if I can... This is the only cover right here that doesn't sound like the original Beatles to me that they did. Here Comes the Sun. There's Jet on ahead because I'm playing dodgebot ball. Indeed, I should be sleeping right now. That sounds so much like the original. I think I'll get hit by a bot. All right, enough of that. I better stop that. I feel like I'm reaching magnum opus. I think I'm going to self-destruct if I keep it up. Let me conclude with this song that I teased about a moment ago. Let's go with this one as I sign off and say goodnight. This is a song a lot of people don't like. Call me a wussy, but I kind of like this song. Gino Vanelli. I like Iron Maiden too now, so give me a break. And I'm not going to sing it. Thank God. All right. I'm going to cut that and play another version. Play a live version of Gino singing that. Here we go. Have an awesome week, everybody. Thanks for being a part of the Nostalgic Podblast, whether it's in social media land or listening. Whichever. I appreciate it. Gonna do my best to improve. And we have some great guests coming down the pike in the coming weeks. I'm very excited about. I'll never stop. Check this out. I lied. This is another big time artist singing that song. I don't think the audio is going to be very good, but let me just try to get this going. This is the great Michael McDonald covering Gino Vanelli's I Just Won't Stop.
For your love. For your loving. When I think about the nights in Montreal, get the sweetest thoughts of you and me.
Again, I hope you had a wonderful Passover, Easter, whatever you celebrate, or if you don't celebrate anything, be well.
Tried so hard to take it, but my heart just can't fake it. I just wanna stop and tell you how I feel about you, baby. I'm just...
Oh, good gosh, I'm making myself sick. I think if I ever play this back or hear it on Fistful, I'm going to vomit. I'm going to vomit. I'm going to say, why did you play that song? If you like it, keep it to yourself. You look like an idiot. Oh, good grief. grief. No, I got to sign off with the regular theme. Good night, everybody.